What's the name of this podcast?
Tampa Film Podcast.
The Tampa Film Podcast. Hello, Tampa Film.
Hey, so sorry we're late. Welcome back to Tampa Film Podcast. I'm Termaine Jenkins. This is Joeseph O'Connor.
Hello.
He is back.
I'm back.
You know, you're one of my favorite guests ever.
Oh, really? Oh, that's great news, because I like this.
I love it too, man. Our last podcast was like 4.5 hours.
Tampa Film Podcast.
Oh,
we got a delay.
Uh-oh.
Hello, Tampa Film.
Hey, so sorry we're late.
Feedback loop
Welcome back to Tampa Film Podcast. I'm Termaine Jenkins. I know what it is.
Oh, because it's like a delay?
Live is delayed, and it's feeding back into
Gotcha.
the microphone, so, all right.
That makes sense.
So now that that's fixed.
Well, you get like a full minute delay, huh?
Got 20 seconds.
It's not bad, though, because you could run over there and chop it.
Yes.
You could pull the plug.
You can go pull the plug. If you said something like...
Something bad.
Real bad. You know, something embarrassing. You can
I'm not... Yeah, I don't know. That might have happened last time. We're going to try and avoid that this time.
Absolutely. So, Joe, for those who don't know, you are a actor, musician, and film director.
Yes.
And you know, you can go back and watch the previous podcast where you went into your history and everything. But where are you now as far as acting and directing film this year?
I am now in pre-production for my next film. It's called Torment. It's about 6.5 pages, and it's a look inside the nightmares of a 10-year-old. And it's mostly visual. There's almost no dialogue. And I'm going for incredibly memorable images that will stay with you long after you see it. But there's no blood or gore.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm trying to not make it so, because it's part of the OIF Film Challenge, and that challenge is horror thriller. But I don't, because I work with the kids a lot, I don't want to do murdering and killing and blood, and so because thriller was in the mix, I said, well, my oldest son has nightmares, so I started talking to him about his nightmares. So I'm in pre-production on that, which is going pretty well. And I shoot on October 24th and 25th of the main 2 days, and then I got a couple of location shots. And then it's due on October 13th, I have to hand it in. And it'll be screened about 2 weeks later.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to it, because I'm getting more confidence as a director and as a writer. Last film I did, I was just telling my mother, I was talking to my mother, she's from New York, and she lives in New York, so I'm on the phone with her on the way down here, and I was explaining to her that during the last film, during editing and the wait from the time I turned it in, the 2 weeks later to the screening, I had terrible sleeping problems. I would toss and turn in my bed, and to the point where I wore the sheets out, like I made the sheets threadbare, and then actually tore holes in them because I was tossing and turning so much, and I had to go out and buy new sheets for the bed. So even have said that, and then I finally got through the screening and saw the work and got the audience's reaction, and then I came back down to planet Earth and dusted myself off and back to work. So, you know, I took my punches and I learned my lessons and I move on.
Okay.
You know, but it's a difficult process to just live with. It's so harrowing to be a filmmaker. It's so exciting. There's nothing glamorous about making films. It's incredibly difficult to make a film.
Yeah.
It's wildly difficult, and the more I research it, the more I see other directors saying, like, don't become a filmmaker because you think you're going to be glamorous and make lots of money. Only make films if you absolutely have to tell that story. So that's what I'm sticking to. And I'm learning to live with it and learning to love it. I absolutely love it. It's so great. I love it. But it's difficult, man. I don't have to tell you. You know how difficult it is, man.
Absolutely. So is this, what number film is this for you?
This will be the third one that I direct.
Okay, and your first two are called Absolutely Lemonade,
Yeah.
short film, and This Big.
Yes.
Is the second one. Is it in that order?
Yes.
Lemonade was first? Okay.
Yeah.
And those two that you did those for which challenge for OIF?
The first one was for the Heart Challenge, and it didn't really cover the challenge ideas, but it got accepted.
And what is the Heart Challenge?
The Heart Challenge was more like, not to say like St. Valentine's Day themed, but it was more about romance drama, like not Hallmark, but nicer, softer love, holidays, stuff like that.
Heartfelt.
Something between Christmas and something between Christmas and St. Valentine's Day.
Okay.
But I wound up doing this comedy, and it met some of the criteria, and it got in. And then the other one was for the LOL challenge, like the comedy challenge.
Okay. Laugh Out Loud. That one was This Big?
That was This Big, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. And those are both, you made those both this year?
One was made but the week before Christmas and New Year's. I made the first one, so it's technically the last week of 2018.
Okay.
So it's within the last year, but not calendar year 19. And then the other one, I guess I shot it in March or April. Early May. I shot it in May because we wound up shooting it on Mother's Day, part of it. So that's like third week of May.
Okay. Now, OIF, for those who don't know, is the Orlando Independent Filmmakers. What would I can pull them up on the screen here, actually.
OIF.
And how'd you first get involved? Let me go to their website, actually. How'd you first get, so when it came to Absolutely Lemonade, your first short film, can you just kind of rehash, like, what got you into making that film? Like, had you decided you wanted to do filmmaking from a director's point of view?
I didn't actually. I wanted to act, and I was working with yourself and some people down here in Tampa, but I live in Orlando. So I looked on Facebook and found OIF by happenstance and joined it, and then watched an entire cycle, a challenge, go through an entire cycle before I actually really fully engaged. Mm-hmm. And went to the screening at the end of that cycle. And that was about a year ago. That'll be a year ago this November. And then they announced, at the night of the screening, they announced the next challenge. So, and that was the Heart one. So I grew up with a guy who wound up going out to LA and write screenplays. So I contacted him and said, hey, you got any 10-page shorts, So he sent me about 5 of them, and I read through them, and I contacted the people who run OIF and said, what do I do, because I really didn't know what to do. And they said... But
you had got inspired from watching that first cycle?
I had gotten inspired, actually. The first time I sat in a screening, there were a couple of movies that didn't work. There were a bunch that worked fine, but, they were fine. And then there was a handful, like 5, that I was like, wow. Like, that's incredible that with no budget and, consumer kind of products, people are putting out work this good. So I was wildly inspired. So I really thought, so I asked, what do I do with these 5 scripts? And they were like, well, you can only submit 1. Mm-hmm. And so I put it in and then said, and it got accepted. And I said, what do I do? I just wanted to be in it.
Right. I
didn't think to direct it. And then the more I read the script, and I had directed theater in New York, so I wasn't afraid of directing. I just didn't direct cameras.
You just thought you just submit this, they would accept it, you would get to act in it.
Yeah, another crew. Like I would get another crew, and have somebody else do all that kind of stuff. So, and then what happened was a really nice guy I got turned on to a nice guy who could direct it, and I just couldn't hand it over to the guy. And
Why not?
I called him up and said, we're going to go another direction. I'm so sorry. And then I wound up just helming it myself and saying, because I couldn't give it over and let it become someone else's vision, because I was too attached to it at that point, and I didn't think that it would be fair to me or to him that if I would interject constantly and be like, no, I didn't want to be a tool about it.
Right.
So it was either I hand it off to the guy completely and walk away, or tell him I'm sorry and I'm taking it on myself. And so that's what I did. But then I had nothing. I had no cinematographer, I had no sound guy, I had no crew, nothing, no script supervisor and all that crap that people think they need. And I had no actors, I had nothing. But we had my house as a location. So I wound up going on to the Facebook page for OIF and just saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. And people responded, and I put together a team and got it done. 13 hours.
Wow, okay. 13 hours.
13 hours. It was 1 day of 3 hours and then 2 days of 5 hours.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And it was fun?
It was amazing because I really didn't... I could direct actors, but I couldn't direct a cameraman. So it was fun because it was only 5 hours. But it was hectic at the same time. But it wasn't grueling. It wasn't like these huge 12-hour days or 18-hour days where it was crazy. And everybody was professional. I had no drama. I had no disrespect. Everybody was great. Everybody knew their work, did a fantastic job. They were all very generous with themselves and with their art, and wildly collaborative. Everybody got it, and it was fine. And then when we went in to edit it, so my wife is like an Adobe products kind of person, but more of a Photoshop person than a Premiere person. But then we had to go in, and she had to learn a little bit about it, and we tried to stick it together. So then it's a whole new can of worms, And the biggest problem we had was the highlights were blown out.
Right.
And we couldn't recover them. And we had some sound issues but that you can't recover from.
Right.
And you got to live with it.
Right. That's just a technical limitation.
It's, and it's done. It's what you captured, and it's what you got to go with. And you got to make the story make sense as best you can and live with your failures and submit it. And I did that, and then we watched this thing, and I got very lucky at the screening. There was only my comedy and another comedy.
So you turned out to be the comic relief for the entire night.
I wound up getting a lot of laughs, man.
Okay.
And the other one did too. The other one was a little more slapstick than mine. So it got, that one got a little strange. It was a good film, but it was a little over the top. Benny Hill. Mine was a little bit more, downplayed comedy, but it worked incredibly well, and I was so ecstatic hearing an entire audience. I was in the very front row, and with 400 people behind me laughing at the whole thing, and I was blown away. I mean, you almost can't take a breath until like a good couple of seconds into your movie premiering, because you're worried about the picture, you're worried about the sound, you're worried about all these technical things, like, is the projector going to get it right? Is it like, and all of a sudden, like, you're like, okay, it looks exactly the way it should look in the first 3 seconds, and then you hear the music come on, and you're like, okay, the music's right. And then you let it happen. And then the waves of laughter come in, and you're just like, oh my God, this is working? Like, this is incredible. So I obviously was like, okay, double down on this. Like, learned a lot, made a bunch of mistakes, and I'm okay with that. I know that the way that we learn is through mistake, and I'm not embarrassed or afraid to make them. And did a ton of research and homework. And at the time, the guy that I work with on camera, the DP, bought a red. So we were using a GH5S, and then he switched to a red. So then the second film is shot on a red. So it's a whole different look, you know. And then
But you work with the same guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And it was funny too because he counterbalances me because he's a lot more. I'm a little bit animated, and he's a lot less animated, and he had a lot more experience, and he has great. He has an incredibly special talent for handheld and gimbal work. He doesn't really throw it on sticks very often. He doesn't use a tripod.
He prefers handheld.
He prefers gimbal, and then handheld, but he's good at it, man.
Yeah.
He is good at it. So
Takes practice, man.
yeah, and he's got a couple of nice gimbals. So then once I learned that, and I had conversations with him and some drone work. And a little bit of GoPro work on the second one. But once I learned what he was as an animal, as a creative animal, and what I needed to learn and figure out, then I wrote the script and submitted it, and then we shot something that I'm much happier with. The first one's great. The second one's, they're both great. They both have their problems, but, I'm learning.
You saw improvement.
I did, yeah. I improved where I wanted to improve, yeah. I do still have problems, and are we going to watch them?
Yes.
So the one problem that I'm having as a writer is conflict, and it turns out this is a big problem for a lot of writers, and how to properly do conflict and how to escalate conflict.
Yes.
And here's the problem: I'm a meditator. I don't want conflict in my life.
Oh man.
Right? So
that creates a little bit of a conundrum.
It's a bit of a conundrum, right? Because I'm like I'm a vegetarian because I don't want to be violent to animals.
Right.
Right? So I'm coming to terms with this idea that it's just a movie. I can have conflict. I can show I'm coming to terms with going to conflict.
With the idea that conflict is a good thing if you're a filmmaker.
If you're a filmmaker, conflict is everything.
It's great. You want conflict all the time.
All the time. And you want to escalate it.
Everywhere. Every time.
The cat goes up the tree. You go to get the cat, and you fail, and the cat is further up the tree. And then you try and get the tree. You fall out of the tree and break your back.
And then you're mad, and then you aim a gun at the cat.
And then, then you shoot the cat, right? I say conflict, worst conflict, terrible conflict, kill the cat. I mean, complete reversal of the original idea to save the cat.
Then you get hit by a animal rights truck on your way to work.
And
then film ends.
But PETA will give you a lot of free publicity if you make them upset.
Yes, absolutely. So when did you realize you had an issue with conflict?
Really only in the last couple of weeks. Because so at the end of the way that I've been involved with film is through OIF, Orlando Independent Filmmakers, and when you're done with the screenings, we get together at an after party and they give out the notes from the judges. So then so that you can become a better filmmaker. To say, look, these are the problems we found. This is why we scored you this way.
That's very good.
It's very good if you can accept it. It takes a day or two for you to swallow it, but then you go, you know what, they're right. It's one thing when you have an audio problem and they go, well, it had audio problems. It's another thing when they say you have a conflict problem. And you go, what conflict problem?
That's what you heard from the judge?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In both films.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because I would think most of the time you're going to hear technical criticism, like the lighting was not right, or you should have done this transition or whatever. But a conflict problem means somebody is trying to tell you about something with storytelling. So
the first screenplay I didn't write, and we're going to see them. It's very well written. It's written by a guy who really, really studied and was out in L.A. and part of all these groups and had meetings with big players. So that conflict is there on that one, but it's comedy, and the conflict is fine. There's only so much conflict you can have in 10 minutes. The second one I wrote.
For this big.
For this big, and it's 5 children, and 2 of them are mine. And I guess at the time, I just didn't want to put children in that high of a conflict thing. So it's a little bit more of slice of life. it's not a melodrama, but it's a slice of life and it's a comedy, and there's a little bit of touchy. There's a little bit of emotional stuff in it. It's just nice. It's a nice film with a couple of great laughs. That's very different than a great film with tons of conflict.
Yes.
You know, and now I know that.
Yeah, if you look at one of the things that I do is I'm a fan of certain genres like mystery, thriller, things like that.
Yeah.
But if you look at your work through the eyes of somebody who's not a fan of your genre, you can get a different kind of summary of what you made. Because if you think, you know, I loved Sandlot. This movie felt like Sandlot, you know what I mean? Like the kids, you know, from their point of view and everything. But if you look at it from the eyes of somebody who did not watch Sandlot or whatever, it's like, I'm just looking at kids on the beach. Or I'm just looking at kids talking about what they did after school, but nothing really happens in the film.
Yeah.
Looking at it from multiple points of view, you can begin to start to see, oh, that's what they meant. Like,
so that's what you
missing.
do? You'll look at it from somebody who likes horror and then thriller and then detective and spy? Like
That's what I did to realize how my storytelling skills were insufficient before I started studying storytelling. And then I started to realize, oh, okay, every story has a protagonist pursuing desire against conflict. And then your goal is you really, what makes, you don't have to do this in every film, but usually archetype classical storytelling design, you escalate conflict in a progressive manner to where it gets, you know, they take this action and the world reacts this way, and then they decide to do this, and then you learn more about their character. I start to understand what makes storytelling work and what makes it compelling, and then all that technical stuff. But yeah, looking at it from different perspectives is how you get the understanding of all these different things that make up storytelling and why it affects humans and inspires emotion. You know, there's just so much that you can go into with storytelling, just like lighting and all these technical aspects of cinematography or sound. All that stuff is, in effect, an extension of storytelling in some way.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you got to look at it from all points of view, because that's all these different things that came together to make film in the first place. Look at it from a sound point of view. Look at it from a lighting point of view. Look at it from a conflict point of view, and see if all these things are actually working in concert with each other.
It's funny you mention that, because I'm actually looking at from the color palette point of view on this film. Like, that's how deep you know, as you step up, you know, you continue to add layers onto your abilities, right? But it's funny, like, because we're both fans of Robert McKee, right? Like, you love the story. So not only do I understand it completely, but I've actually been in the room with Robert McKee and taken lessons, like, with small groups of people and Robert McKee. So it's funny that you bring this up the way that you say it, because I know all of that. But when it came to putting my pen to paper and knowing that I was going to direct it and putting my children in it and having it be about children, I found out something about my own artistry. You know what I mean? Like, I discovered something about myself, which is the greatest part of art, right? First, you know, if you can expose yourself, then you expose to the world their own humanity, right? So, and now I have to grow.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I even though I know all the theory and know it well, and I've read that book a number of times, and I read other screenwriting books,
Still going to be learning.
But when you put that pen to paper, that doesn't mean you got it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now I got lucky on this film, because my creative idea was to not use dialogue. So
I like that idea.
Yeah, I'm like literally like I'm trying to use no dialogue. I have a little bit of dialogue at the end, and there's one other scene where a kid berates another kid, but it's inside the nightmare. But so now I have to learn everything else you said. What does lighting do to a story? How do you tell a story just with the lighting? How do you tell a story just with the way the camera moves or doesn't move? You know what I mean? Like, can you create a remarkable image that sticks with somebody long after they've left the theater, you know? And because I'm taking it as a challenge. So where I do need to be challenged, you know, writing-wise, screenwriting wise. But I've chosen to go without dialogue and without a traditional arc. But I like that kind of stuff. Like, one of my favorite films is Tree of Life. You know, like, I like that guy. But he's a really strange filmmaker. You know, I like some really strange films, like Akira Kurosawa Dreams is a great film to me, and it's just a weird film that has a bit of a through line. I just sometimes I like really outside jazz. You know, I like things that are a little bit outside, and I'm finding that that's a problem if you're a Robert McKee fan, because you're not doing it right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing it right yet, but I'm willing to continue to explore it within my own comfort zone of my spirituality or my art or my belief systems about what I would portray on film. There are things I will not put on a screen because I don't think the world needs to glorify that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I respect other people's need to do it, but I'm not looking to be ultra violent. But that doesn't. All conflict isn't violent. There are other conflict.
Certainly not.
You know what I mean? But you have to be careful that you don't write melodrama. You know, the conflicts have to be real. They have to escalate.
But then that's where it comes to where, like what you're saying, you discovered your own artistry. What is it you want to say?
Yeah, like,
because if your story is actually a melodrama can be a good thing.
Yes.
If that's what you want to do, if that's what you're trying to do, and that's the best way to do it. But the thing that I like is just for anyone who doesn't know anything about screenwriting or storytelling in general, it kind of gives, I feel like it gives people a basis to understand why conflict is important, why all these other things about storytelling are important, and they've been used throughout the years, you know, from Plato to Socrates to Shakespeare to all these other writers, and the things that have been kept through the art of storytelling, why they've been kept and why they continue to work. Because I don't believe that it's amazing that I've read the book so many times, but I'll do things that I know, you know, where I put the thing that I want to do ahead of this checklist of technical things that I should be doing storytelling wise. I'll focus on the thing that inspired me to write it in the first place.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time on that. And then I'll go back and make sure that I have the drama in the right way and the things like that, because you have to get through writing the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's just screenwriting work.
Yeah, and you have to accept that a first draft is just the ability to get it done. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and craft it, and then you go back and craft it a third time and a fourth time, you know. And that's another thing. Like, the work ethic is something that as you fail, mm-hmm. you gain a thicker skin and learn how to put in the proper amount of time to get something that you want to move forward with. So it's a funny thing when you go to a movie, before you've ever made a movie, you go to a movie, and I'm not a wildly critical person, I guess, but I always gave myself over to the film. Mm-hmm. Like, some people can't do that.
Suspend all disbelief.
I suspend all disbelief and just go, okay, take me there. And for the most part, I'm normally fairly happy. But
most people would probably think that you can't because
you're a filmmaker,
yes.
or because you're an actor, or because you're
or a screenwriter.
Yeah, you know.
But it's like, I'm easy.
I'm kind of easy.
I willingly do it. You know,
I willingly give myself over.
I enjoy it.
But certainly, sometimes you'll see a movie, and within the first 15 minutes, you know what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy to criticize. You know, but the reality is that it's much tougher to pull off than sitting in your ass on a and watching it for the lousy $10 that you paid. You know, I would have a hard time criticizing a filmmaker at this point in my life. I know what they go through now that I know what they go through.
I don't have a hard time criticizing them.
You know, huh? You're fine with it?
Not the big time ones, no. Bad films turn me into a filmmaker in the theater.
Really?
I start off as a film viewer. I want to be an audience member. I want to just be taken by the movie. I want the artistry to move me the way that it does anyone else. I'm not going in there to analyze a film and be a filmmaker. I'm going there to be an audience.
Yeah.
But a bad film makes you stop watching, They've used the same shot for too long. There's nothing visually interesting about the shot anymore. So now your eye is wandering. Now you're thinking. Now you're analyzing.
Yeah, you're out of the movie.
It makes you, because if you're not watching the movie, you're a filmmaker again.
Yeah.
So now it makes you, well, and at least there's value in that, because a bad film can teach you a lot of things. Just like, I won't do that because that's not working,
Can you, maybe it's not fair for you to give an example. Can you give an example?
Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, dude. Go for it, man. Go for it.
What do you want an example of? Too much dialogue where there's actually no conflict? Green Hornet. Do you want bad, overused camera examples? I mean, there's a lot of them. Well, actually, they do that better than the other things that they.
What do you mean, like the stuff that happens in like the Transformer movies? Like, I can't even look at it.
Well, yeah,
I can't even look at the thing.
I love Transformers.
But the camera, the damn robot's moving so fast. I'm like dizzy. I don't know if he flipped once, twice, or 18 times.
Yeah, there's too much of that sometimes. They go overboard. Michael Bay,
Yeah, I don't get it.
Explosions and stuff.
There's a lot of his work I don't really like. I don't go out of my way to see that.
Well, the thing about Hollywood is once they discover a movie that works,
they
try to make
the hell out of it.
They make a formula out of it. They don't realize the repetitiousness of that fast movement is exhausting for the eye, for the brain. So maybe you do it in the very, very beginning, but then you pull back. Just like if you're going to make a foreign movie with a foreign language, maybe you have that authenticity in the very, very beginning of the movie, but then you pull back into English more and focus on the accents. You focus on the dialect versus the actual language all the way through. If you're doing that, but yeah, that's just because art is clashing with capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But you see, like a guy who uses the same shot too often. You'll notice that.
Not as often as independent filmmakers, because independent filmmakers don't have the same time, resources.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same skill when it comes to planning out, we need this many of this kind of shot, and we know that it's going to be repetitious by this point. They don't go into detail as much as the Hollywood people do. But I've seen it. It's definitely happened before, where I pointed out where this is like $200 million budget, and I'm looking at a rookie mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
it's funny. I have a friend, because I was in theater in New York, and I have a friend who stayed up there, and he wound up, he's a hairdresser, a union hairdresser, first in theater, and then he moved over to television. And he's on a New York City produced cop show. And he just saw my last film recently. He was out of the country. So anyway, I sent him the film. His notes were from such a different perspective. Like to the point where he was like, well, like about editing, he was like, well, you know what, you could have used more two shots, you could have done, and he's like very specific because he sees them doing it all day. And, he's like, you can stay in the wide until something happens. If nothing happens, why are you pulling out? Why are you going into a close-up if nothing happens? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, we don't go to a close-up just to have a close-up. We go to a close-up because we want to, emphasize the idea that's coming forth.
Yes.
And it's obvious, but then when he said about two shots, he was like, well, you had some wides, but you didn't really go to two shots, and then you went right into close-up. And like the way he analyzed it and the critiques that he gave me, they were all very useful.
But they started to sound a little bit personal in taste.
No. They were from a professional's point of view who stands on a set with 150 people multiple times a week, capturing 60 hours of film every week to put out 44 minutes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, this guy's in it. Like, top, New York City production, episodic. So he sees them, and that's formulaic in its own way, especially episodic. Mm-hmm. It has its look, it has its this, it has its that. But the other thing I was very happy to hear about, because I used a GoPro for one shot, and he was like, so I asked him, like, what are you guys shooting on, and he's like, oh, they use this, they use that, they use GoPros. I'm like, GoPros? I'm like, they use GoPros? He's like, oh, yeah, all the time. And I was like, wow, because, you think like it's a cheap consumer product.
I use GoPro.
I use GoPro.
It's like, you guys can't use
I
use GoPro.
use GoPro, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, what are they using? Aries? He's like, they use GoPros. I'm like, what?
I don't actually use GoPro, but I get.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have the GoPro 4. They're using the GoPro 7. Whatever. But and then I was asking him about if they storyboard, and he was like, I don't see a lot of storyboards, man. But then he just told me, he's like, oh, that's funny we had that conversation because we have a big action sequence coming up, and we're all looking at storyboards this week. But normally they don't storyboard. But again, it's a very well-oiled machine. It has standard locations that are used over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like those cameras, all that lighting, that just stays week by week. Even the 6 months that they're off, it doesn't move.
Right.
But when they're out in the field and it's a cop show, so when they're chasing a perp or whatever they're doing, they're running with GoPros. Sometimes they got GoPros on bikes, tracking guys, running behind the bike, all sorts of crazy stuff, and you're like, wow, I can do that.
Yeah.
Like I could do that.
Yeah.
But his critiques were, so well-meaning though. Like we're good close friends, so like I can take it from him no problem. And he's a professional in the business, working it every day. So when he speaks, you go, okay, cool. Tell me more. Like it doesn't hurt. You just accept it. If some schmuck is, oh yeah, that film sucked. My film was blah blah blah. You're like, get out of here.
Right.
So
you did find his critiques useful.
I find them all useful, but it's odd when you get like a list of critiques from 5 judges, and one of them will say like, oh, I love the slice of life, Sandlot kind of Little Rascals feel of it, and then the next one says it didn't have enough conflict, and you're like, well, I can't give you both. You know what I mean? Like, so I made one guy happy by doing it the way I did it, and then I made another guy not happy because it didn't follow the format of inciting the incident, running up to a reversal, the whole bit. But you do have to look at yourself when you get those notes and you say, well, you know what? Am I avoiding conflict? Am I a master at writing conflict? No. Am I avoiding it? I think I am.
So that was the question you asked yourself.
Yeah, that's what I asked myself. Can I write a movie? Yeah. Is it cute? Do people like it? Yeah. Out of the 36 films, mine was ranked number 6. So there was 30 other films.
That's good.
That the judges, had more critiques about, whatever. And I'm not there to be 6th or 5th or 1st or 30th, but it gives you a little bit of oomph to get up and do it again, And that's what I'm doing. What about you? Did you making anything? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just working feverishly to finish the edits that I had been telling everyone.
Yeah.
I'm working on them, and I was like, we're going to have them done in May.
Are you a perfectionist,
May.
dude?
I'm not I don't think that I'm a perfectionist to the degree that I won't ever finish something until it's perfect. But I try to make something as perfect as I can. The issue that we were running into is I was forecasting without, I guess, budgeting other factors that came in with my job, and because things started to ramp up at my job, and I was trying to basically make quarterly performance metrics.
Oh, so all your thoughts go to that.
Well, I hadn't planned on that because they started like, oh, well, look, we're doing a shift bid shuffle. So now we're, the next 3 months, and I had been planning to finish in the 3 months before that with editing and stuff. So the next 3 months, everyone needs to focus if you want the perfect schedule that you want.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, oh my God, every time something comes up.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the problem when you try to do too much stuff on your own, which is what I am guilty of doing.
Yeah.
Not because I prefer it, just because once I say that I'm in, I'm basically going to be in until it's done, and if nobody else picks up something, I'll do it. But things come into my life, and that slows down the whole process. And then there's nobody else to kind of pick up the slack. So, I'm in the middle of trying to edit. But the good thing is that whole ship bit thing is over. I absolutely like murdered as far as like performance and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And now I'm gonna get basically my weekends off.
Oh, cool.
Which you have to be like one of the top people where I work to get your weekends off. So I haven't having the weekends off, which is going to be better for people participating in classes and shooting now. And that's the change that I wanted to announce. So everyone, Tampa Film Network, acting classes are coming back, productions are coming back, edits are coming out, and everything's going to be based around the weekends primarily because I'm like one of the primary folks. But yeah, weekends, acting classes coming up within 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll get back. We'll be getting back to work pretty soon.
Yeah, weekends are the only way to make it work.
Basically, but I've been doing it without weekends.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're not the only way to make it work, but they're better. They're definitely more people available. Makes more sense. I always say, whatever it takes to make something work. If you got to shoot it on Monday night, as long as you can budget the time, shoot it on Monday night. Do whatever you got to do to get it done.
Actually, that's maybe the most successful attitude you could have in life, but most certainly as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes. That's like my motto.
It's like it, and sometimes it is that deep in the woods, man.
Always.
You are pulling from nothing.
Yes, because not everybody, you don't have weekends off all the time.
No.
So what does that mean? You're not going to be a filmmaker until you have weekends off? Or are you going to use what you do have?
Yeah.
So if you're one of those, I'll wait until I get it later, people, they usually don't ever get anything done. Those are the people who, I don't want to ever be one of those people. I would rather be a perfectionist who has trouble getting done because I'm trying to make something too good than to be one of those procrastination people who's going to find out about all the challenges once they start later.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned it. I agree with all that 100%. I'm not a procrastinator necessarily. I'm definitely a go-getter kind of person. But we work in a very collaborative field. And if you find yourself alone, you have an insurmountable amount of work to do. It's insurmountable amount of work to do, and it's hard to stay motivated. So, kudos to you, bro. But I've always felt this way about you. It's why I'm drawn to you, because you have not only the right attitude, but you also have the focus to achieve it. And sometimes people don't have the focus. They have everything else, but they don't have the focus. So it's not even the procrastinators that are hurting themselves or whatever, or coming late, whatever. It's sometimes the people who are out actually doing it don't have the focus. And so, yeah, you kind of have a magical combination. I'm glad that you found yourself in a position where you worked hard and you achieved what you wanted to achieve, and now you're going to move forward. That's commendable. Congrats.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really wanting to get back to getting stuff done, and I want to help Tampa Film Network become a well-oiled machine and just get stuff done. And that's it. That's the plan. We will get it done. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with. So I got both your films up here, but cool. I did want to, just for people who were wondering about OIF, it actually looks to be a really good organization. So basically on their website, oifstudio.com, you can kind of find the about. OIF is a dynamic, collaborative filmmaking community based in Central Florida. OIF promotes hands-on participation in the film arts. Our mission is to facilitate entry into the filmmaking by promoting active engagement in independent productions. Also to offer a platform for film crew and talent to collaborate and hone their skills. also to provide educational resources, and to promote the growth of the Florida film industry in general. There's more there, but that's the mission of OIF, and that's very, very similar to the mission of Tampa Film Network, just a bit of a different focus. The thing I like about OIF, ever since you've been filling me in on what they do in Orlando, I didn't know that shit was going on in Orlando until you told me about OIF. And actually, I did hear about OIF from somebody, but at the time I was like, oh, yet another one of those groups.
It's, you know what? Yeah, that's what you say.
Yeah.
When you first hear about these things, you go, okay, yeah, whatever.
But then you look in there and you see stuff getting done.
Stuff is getting done.
Yeah, and it looks like the credit to that is the focus on the screening events.
Yes.
The challenges, screening events. So basically, they set up a challenge. They tell you the date that it's going to screen. They tell you what the criteria for the films are, and they say you can go ahead and submit a script. And they have a fair, equitable system to where if you got accepted last time, they kind of allow people who didn't get accepted before, as long as there was no issues, to submit a screenplay. They choose the screenplays. People go ahead and film, and they try to make that date.
Oh, yeah. You got to make the date.
Now, the way that we went differently from OIF was they focused on the event of the screening.
Yeah.
And then in Tampa Film Network, we focus on the classes of the acting classes and just kind of build everything off of that, because there are always so many actors available at all times to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But now the event thing I understood, because everyone's always talking about the event. You know, when's the next challenge? When's the next 48-hour film festival thing? When's Campus Movie Fest? Everyone wants to do that. I personally always thought, hey, look, it's not about just putting something on the screen. It's about honing your craft, honing your skills, actually getting out there and filming. I would always say, you don't need an event. Just go and just do your stuff, and so that's why we went that way.
Yeah.
But there's advantages to doing both, and I really do like what they've been able to do by focusing on building everything around the actual film events, because everything actually does come together. People are honing their skills. People are getting opportunities. People are meeting up, and then relationships are continuing, and I feel like it's growing in Orlando.
I mean, like right now we have the 38, 50 got submitted, 38 got selected. Maybe 3 to 5 won't make it to completion. Mm-hmm. Those other 30 some odd films will make it to the screening, and most of them will be pretty good. Some of them will suck. Some of them will have 1 or 2 major sound problems. One will have like an editing problem. Like some of them will, but they don't suck. Mm-hmm. And then there'll be a couple that are just awesome. You're just really inspired when you watch them. But yeah, no, you do. You get a couple of weeks to write a 10-page script, because we keep the number of that the running time of the movie has to be 10 minutes with the scroll, with the title and the scroll. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and then you get about 8 weeks to do pre-production, production, post-production, which includes editing, and you got to turn it in by midnight on 8 weeks later, and in a specific format. Like, it's technical, but you got to get it done. You have to meet certain broadcast standards. It has to be, it can't go above, the audio can't go above -3 dB. So you have to understand how to put limiters on it and master your audio and different things. And it's not that difficult, but it's welcome to the world. And then about 2 weeks later, we all get together and screen it, and everybody shows up wearing their best. And then we have an award ceremony. And then we all go out for a drink. But I don't drink alcohol, so I get ginger ale.
Me either.
Yeah, I get ginger ale. But there's something about the air. There's like, it's an incredibly charged event. And it does motivate people when they see their hard work come to fruition in front of the community. And the air in the room it's electric. And that's one of the biggest reasons that it works. The other reason that it works is very hard to describe, but the people who founded it believe in the greatest gift is to give. So a lot of people in our business are egomaniacs.
Yes.
And they want to be the best, and they want to be in front of the camera and behind the camera, and they want to be, and me. And those are the guys that when you hear about their film thing, festival, whatever, you go, oh, yeah, I'm sure it's great. You know, like, because you know that it's built on ego. So aside from the screenings, the thing that works in OIF is that it's collaborative and familial and a community. And that is very difficult to come by in this business. And it just makes it work. There is no drama. There is no drama allowed on the Facebook page. There's no catfighting or nothing. Those people just don't, it just doesn't work for them. Those people who want that kind of energy, they don't find it in OIF. Not to say there's not difficulties. There are difficulties.
Right.
But there's a sense of giving from the top down that makes it work. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean because we try to encourage that for Tampa Film Network, that sense of community.
Yeah.
And a sense of everyone is giving something to the project to make it work.
Yeah, well, you certainly, that was one of the reasons I originally contacted you, because you touched on that same principle that it's not I, it's we.
Yes.
You know? That's important. And then, like, one of the other criteria of getting your film submitted, when you submit a film, the second criteria is that you have worked with other people on sets. So even though I'm directing a movie and it's mayhem and it's hectic and really we pull off the impossible when you make a film. As soon as my film is done and goes into post-production, I will also show up on somebody else's set, even if it's to get coffee or to be the script supervisor or to hold the boom mic, or to be an actor, whatever it is, whatever they need.
That's great.
And that's it's built into the process. Like, hey, if you're a first-time submitter of a script and we've never heard of you, you've never helped out on anyone's set, we're going to give you a chance, a certain number of you. I think there's on this one, there's 6 or 9 people that we just don't know at all. Mm-hmm. But we're going to accept their scripts. Everybody else has either submitted a script and had it go full all the way through or been on everybody else's set helping. So that makes a big difference. If you're part of the community, then yeah, let's play. If you're standing on the outside complaining, go home. We don't say it like that. I shouldn't say that. That doesn't sound like we, but
that's fine. I understand. That's kind of what we do too.
Yeah.
All right. So the basically you can get to the organization's page on Facebook. Just type in the search bar Orlando Independent Filmmakers.
And it's a private group, so you have to ask to join.
Yes, you do have to ask to join. So they've got a fan page where you can look at pictures of the activities, the filmmaking process, the screening events, and all that stuff is public. But they also have the private group. And actually, you can get to the group on the groups tab, too. Here we go. Independent Filmmakers. So you can basically hit that. It's a private group. It's a closed group, actually. And you can get accepted, I guess, as long as you live somewhere in the area where you can actually be there to be in the group and participate. And then on inside, you can kind of see the announcements for upcoming events. You can see people putting together the production, saying, I need this cast, I need this crew. And you can kind of see the productions just going through the process. Look at here. Somebody's posting here. Cass, Nunn, Hooker, John, crew, editor. So these are the things that they need.
And all of those will get filled.
They will all get filled.
Yeah.
All of them. Because everyone's looking to get involved, right?
Yeah.
So all you have to do is be reliable. So if you're looking to be involved with these things, and you want to do these roles, tell them that you want to do it, tell them that you're interested, and then come and show up on the day. Don't no call, no show, obviously.
Yeah, well, that goes true for any business at all, right? But the one thing that we had to implement this time that they implemented was an actor can only be in 3 movies, no matter what the part.
That makes sense.
Because yeah, man, like because we have hundreds of actors, and people see someone up on the screen, or someone will win an award, or whatever, and everybody wants that actor.
Yeah.
And they're not even casting their own films properly because that actor might not be the right actor for the part, but they want that actor. And then some actors are incredibly creative about getting work. So some of them hit you up privately when you haven't even put out a casting call and said, hey, are you looking for anyone? And some directors, some new people, they have a hard time saying no to people, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll put you in as an extra, I'll write you in, whatever. But so what's happened is that
So it works.
yeah, we've made it.
It works.
It does work, but we've made it so that an actor can only be in 3 films, and that means, and you're only allowed to have 1 lead, and then you can have 2 supporting, or you could have 3 supporting, whatever. But you're only allowed to have 1 lead, and then whatever you get in 2 other movies, including extra work. So if you're an extra, that counts as one of your 3 movies.
Yeah.
But what happens is that, so instead of one actor getting 5 and 6 and 10 roles, now you've split that out, and now 7 other people get a chance.
Yeah.
Because if someone's in 10 roles, and now they can only do 3, now 7 other people get a chance. So, and then your networking goes, because as a director, you tend to want to work with the people who you know can deliver. And sometimes you even write around the actor that you want. But you're not expanding your community and you're not expanding your art properly.
Right.
And you're not exposing yourself to the wonders of every human being.
Yeah.
And letting them shine. So we're hoping in that it's a great rule. I've already ran into 2 problems with it, which means I have to cast somebody else. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I will cast another person that I don't know, and if they don't know what they're doing, I'll walk them through it. I mean, it'll work. We'll make it work, and it's all going to be fine. But so technically, for me, I already see it working.
That's good.
We
got something similar.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely. So for acting class, like basically the rule is everyone needs to do each role once before they can do the role again. So like if you do a lead, you can't. If you do a lead in this film, the next film you can't be lead.
Yeah.
You can be a principal, you can be featured, you can be an extra, but not a lead.
But not a lead, yeah.
Until you do the other 3.
Gotcha.
So now, after you get your lead part, now you got to go in the other film and do a supporting, then do your feature, do your extra. Everyone gets the same ratio of opportunity.
Yeah.
That way, it's fair, and I think you have to be fair, especially if you're not paying.
Yep.
But also the artistry, like you were saying, expanding your art. You got to understand, man. There are things that people can do that you will never discover unless you give them an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So even though somebody may not have a lot of experience acting, they may be able to create magic. If you give them an opportunity to kind of go through it, you will get something. And I've discovered great performances from people just by putting them in that spot and be like, hey, it's your turn to lead this or feature or whatever. And then it's like they're amazing.
Yeah.
Because, it just happens to work for them. Maybe the part is perfect. Maybe you give them just enough. Maybe they have the freedom to just be themselves versus just being that person sitting at the table, being an extra. But once they get a lead role and you find out, wow, this person has a lot of ability.
Yeah.
And then they have their opportunity.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. I mean, I'm looking forward to casting people that I don't know. And because I work with the children, too, one of the biggest problems is that there's a lot of kids who are involved, and there's not a lot of writers and directors that are gearing their material towards children. So, like on this one, I probably have to have about 6 kids, at least 5 kids that I've never worked with before. And it's just for one little scene. There's a lot of makeup involved. So those kids are going to learn how to work, which is good for them. But they'll get to see themselves on the big screen. And, when you touch a life like that, when you take that on and say, hey, let's do this together, and it's going to work, and I'm going to show you how to do it because I've done it a couple of times, but I'm not great at it. But let's work it out, and then we're going to go and we're going to all sit down and check it out together. When that kid gives you a hug at the end of that screening, you want to cry, dude. You just want to cry, man.
It means the world to him.
It's like the world, man. It's so big. So yeah, so it's it can so there's magic everywhere and in everyone, and it's our job as artists to let them be the magic that they want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got to find that, and we have to share that with audiences because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
No,
it's true. It's an amazing. Here we go.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so there's one that says final. No. Those are teasers.
Yeah, this one here. Final.
The bottom one. Yeah, that's the one. All right, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, if you're ready.
I'm ready. Let's watch.
Do you want anything to drink? I just want to grab a ginger ale real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah. Should I tell a story to the people?
You can.
I don't have any stories, people. All right, now that he's gone, let's talk about him. Actually, I would say this to the Tampa Film Network. Last time we did this, I had an amazing time. But all you guys commenting was pretty cool, man. I never thought that people would be like, oh, wow, this is a dope conversation. So thank you. And, keep it real, though. Let us know how we're doing.
Funny.
No, I'm good. I have down here. But no, that was really cool there when you guys comment on the bottom. I like that.
Yeah, I like interacting. A little bit of distraction sometimes. Sometimes I actually forget to even look. So I'm sorry if it seems like I ignore people, but I don't. I try not to. It's just I'm just so I like to be focused on the person I'm talking to.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even like looking at the screen.
Oh, why? Is it telling you right now, like if people are watching?
I was trying to spread it, but I was having some issues. It was like Facebook's having a problem right now, so I don't really know. I know that it's live because it's still
doing it.
It's still over there.
Cool.
So okay, so what we're gonna do? This is the first time on the program. We're actually gonna watch the short film and comment. Actually, no. We did this with Ruth and Anthony.
Oh, you did?
I know Ruth and Ken. So we're actually gonna watch, but this is the first time we've done it with an actual filmmaker with their own film.
Okay.
So we're gonna watch the first of your films ever, called Absolutely Lemonade, and this was the comedy one that was for the Heart Challenge, okay, for OIF.
And then afterwards, we're gonna talk about it and go over it.
Oh, we can talk about it as it's going. You can just pause it if you want to.
Okay.
So just feel free to. Let me get it ready, primed here.
Oh, this is cool.
So the audience is going to see the full screen. We're kind of in the corner here.
Okay, cool.
And we're going to hear it in our headphones too. So let me know if it's too loud or not loud enough. Okay. Absolutely Lemonade. And you want to say anything before we even
enjoy
it? Just play it? Okay.
Yeah, just play it, man. Let's do it. Magic time.
It's magic. It's magic in the air.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, the difficulty of loading it. What is going on here? Trying to play it.
Oh, there you go. All right, cool. We're going.
I like that shot. I used it before.
That's a drone.
I know. I've used that shot.
What you doing, Mom?
I hate to fly. I just needed something to take the edge off. I gotta go. Give Mommy a hug.
Could we buy new comics?
Oh, honey, when you get a job, you can buy anything you want. I gotta go. Give me a hug. All right, guys. I will be back in a week. Don't give Aunt Rachel any trouble. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
She didn't have headphones on, did she?
No.
Okay. Perhaps you should have.
Yeah.
I got an idea. Hey, that's for adults. I know. Duh. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. Oh,
Happy accident.
Kept it. I like that.
Yeah, I kept it.
That's why I like running the camera.
Yeah.
Even after takes in. Sometimes I use that stuff.
No. Lenny LaRusso at OIF. I need the tax ID number. Yeah, Lenny LaRusso. Oh, yeah. You know what? Let me call you back.
This guy was good to work with, man.
Yeah, that he kind of looks like one of those actors, a little pretentious.
A little bit, right?
He looks Shakespearean.
We got to take the edge off.
I borrowed that my friend's Cadillac. That's actually.
It's a nice truck.
Yeah. Can I get another? Wow.
Where'd you get your jingle theme from?
Well, I had a composer on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at the Benz dealer, and she can't choose between the C class and the E class. She has to have the S class. It's like $99,000.
I like this part.
it's always about the horsepower and the suspension.
You know what? You goddamn right. Maybe you can set her straight. You got.
Those are actually my 2 children.
Could I go to the store?
Be back before dark.
And that's my dog.
Check him out.
Yeah, he's got the strut. This kid is fearless.
Hey, how's it going?
I dig this shot.
Here's my favorite sequence.
Yeah, the tracking, I like
Yeah.
it. Did you do the color thing on purpose?
Yeah, we just weren't any good at it.
Okay.
And this is the actual shop owner.
I'd like all of these.
Oh, you have to come back with your parents. I don't think you have enough money.
How about just the money?
That'll do. Here you go, kid. Have fun.
Hey, this is for you.
Oh, man, come back anytime.
He's a total natural.
He looks like a comic book shop owner.
He's perfect now.
He just looks like one.
Nicest guy in the world.
No, but it's amazing that we've talked so many times on the phone, but we've never met.
I know. It's so nice to finally put, the face to the voice.
You know what? We should do this more.
I like this too. That's a progression right there.
Yeah, that was about the 3rd
Should I get
take.
another one? Better make it 2.
See, the highlights were all blown out, though. I couldn't get them back.
Would it be a single or a double?
Double.
Is that Trip?
No.
What? No. You know what?
Okay,
Take a
she
message.
sounds
I'm
like she
busy.
had an accent, and
She's
she
Russian.
She looks like Trip. Trip is Russian.
You see that
Really?
table over
Yeah.
there?
Do you know?
I
Do
need
you know
that
Trip?
tomorrow at noon for
Okay,
a meeting.
she's in my class. She's
How much is it going to cost me?
See, I like this too because it's every time we come back to the lemonade, there's something new happening there, and it's like progressing.
Yeah, business is growing.
Yeah.
So is everything on that little table.
I didn't even notice the table.
Yeah.
I hope they at least make the playoffs.
If they keep injuries to a minimum, they just might.
Kyle, what's wrong with the TV?
I'll fix it in a minute.
Okay, well hurry up. I'm missing the real world.
Real world.
Yeah.
Last call!
So this is one of the problems we had. We couldn't get,
Look at that. Who says free enterprise is dead?
like, this is Cops, but we couldn't get the shots right and editing to let you know that those were two cops.
Yeah, they did look a little sketchy.
Yeah.
Anything else for you?
Any discount if I buy in bulk?
So this is that's the first shot we shot, and my son just didn't know how to project. So we had to raise the volume so much that you hear all the background noise of the refrigerators and all.
Any discount if I buy in bulk?
Yeah, and he's like whispering it. Stock music, completely free.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that.
You hear this one everywhere. This is a nice shot. This is a great shot.
That is nice.
And then look, the actor goes, this is one take. Perfect. All the way through.
What? No credit card?
Hello!
Oopsie.
Teo, you don't have any cash on you?
No.
Okay, stay there. I'll come over to you and I'll give you $5. Okay, where's your hand?
Oh, it's a roll of quarters.
No, it's not. Look, take this money. Can we start this movie up again now, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, so none of that was in the script. We added that.
I was legitimately confused when I first heard that. I was like, what? So is this like an intermission of it? Like,
Yeah.
what?
That's my love of Monty Python.
Okay.
I want to give you a little something extra. I closed the deal.
This kid tried to keep all the money.
Yo, cops!
If you're gonna do cops, detectives is the way to go because you don't have to have like the whole cop
no
get up.
uniforms.
Just
Hey
the
kid,
badge.
who's winning the game?
The Dodgers 3-1.
Take the edge off. I have one too. Kid, you can't be selling alcohol out here.
Real moment.
How much?
How much what?
How much money is this gonna cost me?
Is something wrong?
Aunt Rachel, we need to talk.
Oh no.
Cue the 80s rap music. Like it.
Some of this is fun. This is a drone. This is a drone shot, actually.
Digging that.
Yeah, and then he goes up.
You used the whole 10 minutes of this?
Yeah, this one was allowed to go to 11 minutes. So this one is like literally like, 10:56. And the next one I think was allowed to go to 11 minutes, but I was like 9:30. The new one is 10 minutes. We took a minute off.
People don't do this enough. They don't use aerial stock footage.
No, that's a drone. I shot that. We actually.
Oh, you actually shot that?
Oh, we actually shot that with a drone. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me for what I said earlier. I thought you used the same
No.
thing that I used.
No. We actually did it with the guy. My cinematographer has a drone.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shot right there too. I really dig that.
I mean, like I didn't know how to do all this stuff. Like, so we did a drone. The next movie has a drone shot in it, and then we got a little more technical with the drone. But again, it was my first time, and like a good DP, a good cinematographer, he'll tell you when you're definitely wrong, but he won't tell you if you're not right. He lets you get your image. He lets he trusts you. So developing that relationship is important. And then so like on the next one, we make bigger choices with the camera.
Yeah,
because that I didn't know how to do.
That's a good shot right here.
Yeah, I mean this guy's got. Like,
and this is handheld right here, right?
Yeah,
he's good. I like that.
Yeah, he's all handheld. There's no tripod in this whole film, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, the shot. That's what I was saying before. I was asking if this
if she had headphones on.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Why?
Just because it seemed weird that nobody spoke to her on her way out.
She's just like the proverbial couch potato.
Yeah.
Like she just lives right there.
Yeah.
And eats junk food and with the lollipop and it's interesting. You're the only one
It's a
to
good
say
shot,
that.
by the way.
That was a tough shot because of the highlights again, but
it's minor.
And
minor
she
issue.
happens to be a beautiful person, so
Yeah.
she was easy to film. She just looks great on the camera.
This shot, did she have anything to react off of?
You know what? I got to tell you, man, she had some talent, and it's hard to see because we don't ask her to do big actory things.
Right.
That's not easy for an actor to do, to sit and be focused on the TV while all this is going on and to look like they're completely distracted from the world. That's not actually easy. Most actors want to like move and do stuff. To ask an actor to sit and do nothing is far more difficult than people understand.
Because they all want to do stuff.
They all want to get up, across the room, shake their ass, whatever.
I know exactly what you mean, but this right here is good.
And she's
I tell people to emphasize that.
Yeah, like completely comfortable, completely focused on what she's doing, and literally doing nothing. But if you can't do that, then we can't get the shot. We can't give that. We can't tell the story without someone who's able to do it. And yeah, she was a winner. She's a total. She's got a bunch of work coming out too. She's got some real talent, and she's worked hard, and is actually a very lovely individual.
What's her name?
Bless her. Tiffany Mills.
Tiffany Mills.
And she's from St. Petersburg.
Shout out to Tiffany Mills from St. Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt like it's just certain things you will take notice of just because of how unnatural they are.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a little bit unnatural in that, well, if nobody's addressing her, there should be some obvious reason. So like headphones.
Yeah.
It was obvious when we cut from the outside shot to the inside and you heard the TV.
Yeah, right here. It's going to happen right here, right? It's literally like right here. Oh, it just happened, I guess. We just missed it. But yeah, so we're outside making the lemonade, and then we shoot over to... and that was... So the idea behind that, the edit on that is to say, okay, these boys are doing trouble, and she don't care.
Yeah, it's just juxtaposed.
Yeah.
They're working, she's just being a couch potato.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And you don't have to have the TV on in the other shot, because I feel like it was better to not have it on. But that's why I thought that the headphones just easily explained away. Oh, this is why there's no use talking to that person right
now. So you mean the TV on by the light or by the sound? Because there was no sound. We added the Maury Povich.
Right. No, it was a good sound that you added, by the way, too.
Yeah, we added the sound of like a talk show or whatever.
Yeah. It's just it wasn't on in the beginning, and that's...
Oh, it's a different show, I think.
Can we buy new comics?
Oh, because you don't hear it here.
Yeah, and the only thing is you don't hear anything, and you just see her sitting there.
Yeah.
And somebody's leaving. She's obviously there.
Yeah.
but nobody addresses her. That's the only thing that felt
I
unnatural.
will be back in a week.
See, the TV's on here.
Yeah.
Don't.
A little just look in that direction. See you later. And then that might have fixed it. The headphones could have fixed it too.
Well, actually, and so it's funny because it's great that we talk about this and to delve into this, right? So
Give Aunt Rachel
while I was right there, don't give Aunt Rachel any trouble.
Yes.
Don't fight the bull, is what she's saying there, right? Like, don't piss off the snake.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we tried to establish exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, who Aunt Rachel is. Because that's how I knew who she was as soon as she said, don't give me.
Don't give Aunt Rachel any trouble.
Yeah. And actually, upon hearing that the second time, I noticed that she kind of whispered it at the end.
Yeah,
so
she
that
kinda-
was good.
Yeah, she throws it down a little bit like, hey, guys.
Because nobody's... That at least tells you she doesn't want to be disturbed right now.
Yeah, don't touch her.
Don't speak to her. Don't touch her. Don't bother her.
Yeah.
You know.
Unless you're bleeding. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like a kid rule. Like, don't come to me unless you're bleeding.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible. But it's true. It's funny, this wasn't even a year ago. Like, my children are completely different. They're different people in just 6 months. Like, they grow so quick. It's so ridiculous, dude. So even like this one here, when he does the duh, you know, you really have to guide them. And this one here, the fact that they kept going.
Let me see if I heard the TV on it. So, yeah, very good sound here. That works.
Yeah, it's like the Maury Povich show or something, you know. But like this happy accident, like, let me tell you, man, this is like the 4th or 5th take. They just couldn't get it right. And you have to go and scratch the bucket, get fresh water. You know, they have to start from scratch. It's like a pain in the butt.
But what made you decide to keep that shot?
It was the most natural thing that the fact, because they're little kids. I mean, that's a 6-year-old we're looking at. The one with dark hair is 6 years old. And the lighter haired one is eight there. They kept looking at the camera.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just hard for them to avoid it.
It's hard for them to avoid it. So by the time, it's just like got to be the 5th or 6th take. But they didn't look at the camera. But I would have used this over another shot because I love happy accidents. Like when somebody has to deal with a real world thing, to me, that's perfect.
Yeah, I like that too.
And the way he captures it and stands it up, they don't. The other one counts. Watch his mouth. He's counting the 1, 2, 3 when they do it. And I find that a lot with the kids is that they actually say the other guy's lines. They mouth the other guy's lines.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids do it. And now I'm learning that. So now we're watching. We don't just watch the one. Somebody else now on set watches the other kids that they don't mouth the actor's lines.
I've never seen a kid do that. That's interesting, and that makes sense too, because that would help them remember when they're supposed to.
You know, yeah.
But that's good because I would have kept that shot just because it happened naturally. They reacted to it naturally.
Yeah,
it looked like something kids are going to spill stuff.
You know, but a lot of people wouldn't have used that because it spilled.
Because they didn't write it that way.
They didn't write it that way.
Yeah.
I know it's strange, man. Now this was difficult because I parked so far away, so it's like there's a lot of editing in here. You know how long it takes to walk across the street, and you can't use it. So you got to find a creative way to get out of the car and then be 18 feet ahead of yourself. You know,
because eventually or initially you wrote that we see him getting out of the car.
Yeah, he gets out of the car, but the edit is like I open the door and then I'm in front of I'm standing in front of them, but like with just a little bit of walking, like so there's like 1 second before I speak.
Right. So you didn't really need to see him crossing the street.
You don't need to see him crossing the street, but the original edit had it in it because we didn't know what we were doing. We were like, how do we do this? How do we make this work? And then you're like, oh, we're at 1350 and we need to be at 11.
Yeah.
You know, so you start cutting things. You're like, what do I got to cut? What can I cut? You know? And you ask people and you let other people see the film and you go, what can I do? You know, they're like, oh, cut that, you know? It really is a collaborative process, man.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this here, I like this shot. I hate saying I would have done whatever. Is there a reason that you sat on the same side of the table as them?
Yeah, actually, we wanted, from a director's point of view, we wanted me to be joining them.
Right.
You know, we wanted to change the dynamic from customer to, hey, I'm hanging out.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you get it in one.
I dig that. So I got the part where they're joining together. That part, it makes sense.
Yeah.
The only thing I would have added was just to create more of that bar feel. So the same thing, if it would have worked, because I don't know if it would have worked, but if you were on the other side, you know how it is when you're at the bar, and then the bartender's on the other side, and you're just talking away all your worries, just
and
drinking,
he's cleaning and
yada yada, you know. And you got the two of them standing there, you know.
Counting the money, washing the table, you know.
So both of them work, but I think I probably would have gone for the that bar metaphor.
That barroom metaphor.
Yeah. But this works too. This is fine. Because I got the hanging out thing.
Yeah, and the lighting, because there's so much light coming. You know, we're right in the light.
You shot on a DSLR here, right?
Yeah, this is a GH5S.
GH5S.
So now, again, like, she doesn't even look at him. Like, she never stops watching the TV. You know what I mean? Like,
so that idea is clear. She's now the only confusing part about that concept is probably the angle is too straight on.
It's too straight on.
So you can't tell necessarily that he's not standing here, he's standing on the other side.
Yeah, like if we had a better over the shoulder, we would have gotten it. But yeah, she never even looks at him.
Yeah.
But I think that was a director choice. I think I mentioned that to her. So this was like this was fun to shoot.
Yeah, I like that shot actually.
Yeah, he's got that little strut going, man.
Starting from the shoes, going up.
Yeah.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah, this guy does some great work. I tell you, he inspires me all the time with his, you know, you can come in with a shot list, man, but you really got to let the eye of the cinematographer, like, look at this work. Like, that's cool. And he's dead on with the kid.
Yeah.
You know? Now, listen, you asked about color. This is a lot of people's favorite scene because this is a great place to talk about set design.
Mm-hmm. Is there a better set than a comic book?
There's no better set than a comic book store.
Everything's already there.
It's packed, you know? You know, it's very colorful. It's a lot. There's so much going on. I mean, I love this shot. I love this whole sequence. And this guy was super nice. He was like, yeah, come on in, film, you know, whatever. I'm like, would you be in it, dude? Because how am I going to... You can't get an actor to do that. You can't get an actor to be that guy. There's only that guy can be that guy. Actors are not comic book store owners. They're just not. I'll
say this. I can tell the cinematographer definitely has a cinematic eye. He was 100% talented. Like everything, it feels natural and cinematic.
Yeah, and like
he's doing really nice shots.
Yeah,
the frames are working. Other than the lighting,
I know
all of this is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's shot a couple of features.
Yeah, and I can appreciate the editing more now too with the volume off.
Yeah.
You can always appreciate a film's visual powers and editing powers when the volume is off, and you can tell whether or not you're telling the story well visually or not.
It's funny you brought that up. I've read that where some editors will turn off all the sound and just watch.
Yeah, it's necessary. I've done that.
You have?
Yeah.
I've never done it, but
sometimes I turn the volume off as I'm putting that rough cut for good friends together. Yeah, because I want to see if it feels right. Does it feel like it's smooth? And this is all smooth. And the other point I wanted to make was the thing that I was saying about the progression of the lemonade business.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the business. It's that when I first saw their customer, he was dressed a certain way. They were at the table. And then when we came back, he had the vest on.
Yeah.
So I can tell things are changing in that character's life. Yeah. And also, the kid had the vest on when he went to the store.
Exactly.
So it's like he's learning from all the adults.
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly what we were going for with wardrobe.
Then we come back to the lemonade business. Now he's expanded into the garage.
Yeah,
and he's got like this lounge area. And it's like, this is crazy. And then it's like they've got the entertainment set up.
And the ball game goes on.
So this is good storytelling.
So this is
as well.
no sound, right?
This is no
So
sound.
I'm going over. I'm standing there going 1, 2, 3, and then everybody go yeah. And then when we edited it, we added the sound, and found a spot where like someone hit a home run and put it right on the yeah. You know.
That's good.
So like sometimes you wind up thinking forward a little bit. You think about post during capture.
Don't you like the smooth sound of adding sound?
Oh,
Like
I
love it because it's
love
like
it.
some people don't like to do it. Some people are like, I gotta capture it on location. I like to work with it. I'm like, fuck that sometimes, man. I just want to get clean sound because it makes the film feel more professional.
Sound is the most difficult part of the film.
It's very hard.
It's so difficult
because you got to keep it. You've got to reconcile the difference between your recording equipment and what other sounds you're bringing in.
Yeah.
And then the quality of your movie,
I mean, like this particular shot, if we had the sound on, like when he speaks, you hear.
Anything else for you?
Any discount if I
See
buy
the
a
jump?
book?
Yeah, the difference in sound.
Because we had to raise it so high that the sound floor, the noise level from the sound floor came up. And that's basically what you're hearing is all the refrigerators inside the convenience store.
Yeah.
But when you're running and gunning and you're asking a guy like, hey, can I shoot a couple of scenes like behind your counter, at your cash register, you're running a business, this guy, you can't tell him like, okay, now shut off 13 refrigerators.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And then your kid doesn't speak up loud enough.
Yeah.
And the sound girl, who's very talented as well, Lexa Davis, she was like, I can't hear him. So we kept going back to him. We're like, dude, you got to speak up. But it was he's 6 years old. It's his first time on camera. And he's in public. Like, he has no idea how to do this. Yeah. So you got to live with it and move on. But now he's more comfortable and whatnot. But all right, so this whole thing here we put in because I wanted to create a dramatic moment.
Oopsie.
And break the
Teo,
fourth wall.
You don't have any cash on you?
No.
Okay, stay there. I'll come over to you and I'll give you $5.
I couldn't tell if this was part of the story or not at first.
Yeah, it's just a strict, like, let's break the wall. It's nothing to do with the story. It's literally a slice of life inside a film.
Oh, it's a roll of quarters.
No, it's not. Look, take this money. Can we start this movie up again now, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just threw that in there. Like, it was my own. I didn't write the script, so like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a dick. I threw myself into it, But a good friend of mine, Pete, who wrote the script, he didn't complain. He was like, it's fine, dude. It's great.
That's good, man. I like when people bring something in.
He was happy. He was very happy with the film. He was happy that we made it. He was happy with the way it came out.
That's good. The cops part here.
This guy, this first cop in the green shirt, is a guy I went to high school with. And I hadn't seen him in years and years and years. And moved down here. And he's not an actor. I'm like, you want to be in the movie, dude? Our other friend Pete wrote it. He's like, really? Pete wrote it? I'm like, yeah, it's an easy role. He played a cop, He's an Irish guy playing a cop. How can you go wrong? But then when he slips up here, that right there, again, I have 6 takes of that. But that's the one where he actually like choked on the lemonade, which made it more real. So I went with it,
Yeah, I
Now-
usually go for that.
So this dark. So now, like the end of the day is there. It's because this is in December, right?
Yeah.
It's the last week of December, so it's dark by 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, So by the end of the day now, it's getting dark. People gave me a hard time about it.
Yeah, the lighting.
That it was dark out. I'm like, well, that's what happens at the end of the day. It gets dark out. Like, the kids got caught. We don't know how long they were with the cops for. Like, they don't want to. Sometimes people don't want to suspend their disbelief.
Yeah.
They want to nail you to the wall.
Yeah, I mean, is it really that hard to imagine that maybe the kids, had an extended conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe they got booked for a certain amount of time. Maybe they lied about where they lived, and then they eventually found their way back to the house.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things.
Yeah, like, come on.
It's not really a big issue.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's not-
But they gave me a hard time about it. I'm like, wow, man, you guys are serious, man.
But that is awesome. Absolutely lemonade.
So it's a fun first film.
Yeah.
The story comes through. It lives. It works. You got laughs. I made dramatic points. Like I was like, all right, it's got problems. It's got sound issues. It's got lighting issues. But it was enough. I got enough right to keep going. Yeah.
How'd you feel by the time you submitted it? Did you feel like it was gonna do well in the theater?
I didn't think that it would get as many laughs as it did. Comedy is much better with a large group.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when it played, people laughed in places like that I wasn't laughing at.
Mm.
But the problem with editing a movie is that, especially when you're under a deadline, is that you're done with it long before it's done.
Yeah.
So when I finally sat down and it happened and people started laughing, and then a couple of minutes in, they're like laughing at places where I didn't expect them to. I was like, oh, this is great, and then they're like roaring, and you're like, what the hell is this? Like, what, like.
Also, because you mentioned like there weren't many comedies that night, the audience was probably ready to laugh at.
They were ready to laugh, yeah. And with the kids, and the premises of the story is actually quite genius.
Yeah, it's a good premise.
I can say that because I didn't write it. But that these kids, see the mom drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I need to take the edge off, and the kid's industrious, and he says, you know what? This is what these big people like. I'll give it to them, and I'll charge them. And then he creates this whole business around it, and then so one of the judges on this film was like, oh, there should have been a drunk. There should have been more conflict. There should have been a drunk that they had to deal with, or this or that. And I'm like, no, man, that's not what it's about.
Right.
But again, it was like their example of a possible way to go with higher conflict. So at the time, I was like, whatever. You're not, that doesn't count.
You took it as personal taste versus
I took it as
technical
personal
advice.
taste as technical advice because they gave the example. Had they not given the example, I probably would have pondered it longer.
Mm-hmm.
But because they gave the example, I was like, no, I'm not going to expose my children to drunks. Like, what the fuck would I do that for? Like, I don't want to expose the world to drunk people. I don't want to glorify that kind of activity. I don't drink alcohol. My kids don't see me getting drunk. And I'm not going to put them in a movie with it. Like, no. It's not what it's about. It's about an industrial child who doesn't know right from wrong. He's 6 years old. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. But then later on in the next film, when they were like, conflict came up again. Then I was like, all right, what I know better than this. What am I doing with conflict here? And then the other stuff, the other judges' comments on this thing were basically the technical aspects of it. I mean, everybody loved the story for the most part and thought it was funny. But yeah, this is my first conflict comment was here, I mean, you didn't have a problem. Did you have a problem with the conflict? I mean, for what it is, it wasn't like, oh, there's no conflict.
No, for what it was, I didn't really have an issue because I felt like it had everything to the level of what it is. It had everything to the level of what it is. There was conflict. There was an inciting incident. There was progression.
Yeah.
Could there be better conflict? Yeah, a better movie in a more dynamic, thought out movie. But I mean, if this is just a little fun kids film, I expect fun kids conflict and for it to feel that way and everything. But
I can't like suddenly have a plane crash.
Yeah,
and like have on top of the house or whatever. Like you have to. I thought it was conflict appropriate.
I think so too. Well, you make the decision in the beginning. The the severity of where you want your conflict to be in the film, like the tone of the movie, the subject matter of it, the themes involved. If your dance movie, like say if you had a dance movie and people say, well, people are supposed to fall in love in a dance movie, it's like a rom-com thing, but you feel like it was more about the competitive nature of the lead protagonist wanting to be perfect and better and everything, and you don't spend time on sexual relationships, but you spend time on showing how obsessed they are, that's because you made a choice to focus on this character's obsession.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, in most dance movies or whatever, the romantic interest or relationship usually takes the center of the storyline, and that's the center stage. Not unless that's the movie you're making. So,
yeah, like I'm with you on that. Have you ever seen Tango by Carlos Suarez?
Haven't seen it.
That's one of my favorite movies, dude. It's life imitates art through tango, and the color patterns are amazing too. It's actually a film worth seeing. Tango, Carlos Suarez. It's probably 10 or 15 years old now, but it's actually a film worth seeing. It's cool, man.
Well, let me say I can check it out and probably forget about it.
Yeah, I know.
I would check it out.
I know.
So is this the movie where you got interested in color palettes, or is that the one you're working on now?
No, the one I'm working on now, I'm more interested in color palettes because it's just the next stage of progression, because I'm trying to capture, like I said, the next one is more about image. Like, how do I really create an impactful image? Mm-hmm. No, this one was, so now this one we're about to see, I wrote it. And again, I wrote it around my kids and these 3 other children, and I knew them all. And
sorry for 1 second before you get there. I just had one more question about the current film you're doing. As far as the decision not to focus on dialogue or to keep it at an absolute minimum, is that something that you did from the outset because you want to challenge yourself more, or did you, through the process of trying to figure out how to be a better storyteller focusing visually, decide that was going to be necessary?
It was a creative challenge that I gave to myself, and it all came like at once. It was like, wait a minute, like if I it's hard to pinpoint exactly when the no dialogue came up, because there are a couple of lines at the very end, but it was more about, I don't know if I was rebelling against this conflict thing that I'm also having going on in my mind. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait a minute, man, like I'm going to tell a story without telling a story. Mm-hmm. Or, you know what I mean? Like, so there was something going on within me where I said, you know what, I'm going to do this thing and not put any dialogue in it, and just do this creative image flow thing. There's another
to kind of force yourself to focus on the other stuff.
To focus on this technical aspects of filmmaking and to become a better filmmaker. Because dialogue, we can do a lot with dialogue to get us through the moments, and you have to be really careful with dialogue that you're not forcing exposition and that you have proper subtext and things like that. So
I'm finding it a pain in the ass right now to edit.
Really?
Yeah. It's like it's just because once you decide you're going to use dialogue for a certain purpose, when you get to the editing process and you start perfecting it, you're going to be like, oh, why didn't we have them? Just like you have all these camera shots, you need all these dialogue sections so you can go and choose between, all right, they're talking for this way for too long, or I don't have enough options for the beginning of how this conversations began, because once I decided to go in a certain direction editorially, the dialogue just didn't match up. There was just the initial central idea of how the conversation was going to go, but there wasn't really an effort at the time on set to capture dialogue from different angles versus just like there's an effort to capture all these visual camera angles from different angles, because you're going to need the wide to say something, you're going to need the close-up to say something else, you're going to need the two-shot to say something else. But what about all that specificity when it comes to dialogue? you need that too, or you have to be really, really good at putting that on paper before you start.
You know, it's funny. Dialogue, man. Dialogue is like, it's not a problem for me. Dialogue, to write it.
I'm definitely doing less of it now.
But the less dialogue, the better.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Like, so in theater,
even if you're acting, it's better to have less dialogue.
Much better to have less dialogue.
You will look better on screen.
And there's some famous scenarios about it, famous cases about it, especially with like Sylvester Stallone. Like the first time they cut Rocky, he saw the first cut and was like, "Yo, go back in and take out every section where I'm speaking." And then the same thing happened on Rambo. He was like, "Go back in and take out all that shit where I'm speaking." You know,
I'm fucking up my own movie here.
Like, take all that shit out where I'm talking.
Man, you know how crazy you got to be as an actor to be like, take out what I'm. My actors love to talk. They love to. It's like you got to be very mature to say, look, me talking is a bad thing right now. I need less of me talking and more of me being.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of skin in the game to say, all right, take out all my talking.
You got to be real confident.
Yeah, man.
You know,
I don't think he's liking any of that, but he's also a true craftsman, and oddly enough, we probably don't give him enough credit for it, but he's a true craftsman. But the you know, theater, because I come from a theater background when it comes to this particular storytelling world, as opposed to like being the music storytelling world. But in theater, we always learned that it was 80% dialogue and 20% visual.
Absolutely.
And movies are 20% dialogue, 80% visual.
Absolutely.
So now so that last movie, like, can a movie work without dialogue?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and there's some great movies that work without dialogue. So we had brought up, I don't know if I brought it up here, but like Tree of Life.
Yeah, you did bring that up.
So like, you know, he does, what the hell's his name again? Pull him up. The Tree of Life. So he does a lot of overdubbing.
This is a very experimental movie.
Yeah. Well, he has another one that just killed it in Cannes, and they're saying that it might be an Oscar contender. Terrence Malick. So Terrence Malick is a really interesting filmmaker, and this film, Tree of Life, is a fairly incredible work of art. Like to the point where YouTubers make whole series about the movie, you know?
What it means,
and all that, you know. And some of them do an excellent job. So, but what this guy's trick is, which is technically a bad storytelling device, but he has a lot of overdub, you know, talking,
voiceover narration
kind of thing.
Usually a bad thing.
It's normally a bad thing until Scorsese uses it in every film. And until Spielberg's using it in the whole first 15 minutes of this last thing he did, that Ready Player One. But this guy, it's not so much that he's narrating as it's almost poetry. Mm-hmm. Like the things that they're saying. Now, apparently the script on this thing is really incredible because there's a bunch of visual shots in here in this movie that are like the cosmos and different things, but this in the script, it's like these weird references to poetry and different existentialist writing, and
yeah, it's definitely poetic.
It's a poetic movie, and the theme is basically like force against grace, or you know, almost like atheism against God, almost. But how it's portrayed in our modern world, God being grace and capitalism or forceful man nature, whatever. That's of course in great question now, being atheism. So it's an excellent film, and it's wildly the cinematography is gorgeous beyond belief. And this particular guy won. This is Chivo who shot this, and he won the best cinematographer 3 years in a row, including The Revenant. So this is a film worth seeing, but it's not a lot of dialogue. I think Sean Penn's in it, and he never speaks in it. He doesn't speak at all in the whole movie. He's only in a here and there. They intersperse him, but I think he has zero dialogue. Now, if you're going to hire Sean Penn and then Sean Penn says, yes, I'll be in your movie, and then you don't give him any dialogue, you're at the top of your craft.
You are a confident man.
Yeah, you're at the absolute top of your craft. But if you're at the top of your craft, and you have a character that needs to portray a tremendous amount of emotion and get you over the story arc, you're going to ask Sean Penn to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I'm glad that it came up, and I'm glad that I'm struggling with it. Dialogue and conflict and some of the things I'm dealing with. I know that I'm going in the right direction. And like this film and this filmmaker, Terrence Malick, he's done a bunch of films, and they're all great. But they're sometimes a little laborious to get through.
Oh, this was definitely hard to get through.
Yeah, this is a hard film to get through.
I found that this was interesting.
Yeah.
But it was definitely not a good movie to me.
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't follow any of the norms of filmmaking, and to the point where he's known for throwing out his script. And he also did a movie once. There's a bunch of actors that won't work with him because what's his name?
I mean, he has some big names. He has Brad Pitt worked with him on that film.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Brad Pitt's in this one. Brad Pitt's in Tree of Life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. He had one guy, I forget his name now. He was the pianist. The movie was called The Pianist. He was like a Polish Jew. Adrian Brody. So he had Adrian Brody as the lead in the script, and threw out the script halfway through shooting it, shot this whole thing, and he's famous for like being on his actor and then seeing a butterfly and going to the butterfly.
Oh fuck!
And staying on it, right? So Adrian Brody shows up at the premiere as the star of the film. He's not in the film. And didn't know he's at the premiere of the film as the star of the film, and he's not in the film, and he doesn't know it.
Which movie was this?
It was only a couple of back.
Because so we have Tree of Life, 2011, To the Wonder, 2012.
Yeah, it's one of these ones probably from somewhere after. I think it was after, because the New World has what's his name in it, the Irish guy. Thin Red Line I saw in the theaters. I remember that one. That one's a good movie too. Deals with the same themes of grace and violence. Mm-hmm. Badlands is his first film. That's with what's his name before he did Apocalypse Now. The Sheen, Charlie Sheen. Days of Heaven, I forget who's in it, but it's again, those were his great days, and you'll see that he took 10 years.
Days of Heaven is famous.
Off. Yeah, Days of Heaven is famous. Yeah, it's gorgeous too, really gorgeous.
That's what it's famous for. Being shot, I think it's shot mostly in golden hour.
Oh, well, yes, and just like what do you call it? That's why Revenant's so popular.
The Revenant.
The Revenant is only shot 1 hour a day.
So he shot The Revenant too.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but Chivo did.
Okay.
The same cinematographer as that this guy works with also did The Revenant. Mm-hmm. But The Revenant, it took them 9 months because they only shot 1 hour a day.
I can believe it.
The Revenant is particularly gorgeous, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you'll see, though, so he makes 2 movies. 1978, he doesn't make another movie for 20 years. And he's really not your normal filmmaker. So, like, have you ever seen The Thin Red Line? Mm-hmm. I think Sean Penn's in that one, too, and a couple other great people. This is a really interesting movie. What's his name is in it, and he has a really bad death scene. Who's the guy who was in Cheers, the bartender in Cheers? Woody Harrelson has a terrible death scene.
Oh, wow.
Woody Harrelson takes on a grenade, and it's like maybe one of the worst death scenes I've ever seen. He's moaning and groaning on the ground. And you're like, dude, that's not real. It doesn't work at all. But The Thin Red Line is basically Caviezel, I think, is more like Jim Caviezel is kind of the main character. And it's a great film. They're in combat, and he's the graceful one. And there's one gorgeous scene where he touches a leaf, and the heat of his hand like almost kills the leaf. Like the leaf changes because he touches it, and like dies because he touches it.
Wow.
The plant itself it's a native plant to wherever they were shooting, and it's so sensitive that if a human body touches it, it dies. And it's it's so profound a shot, especially when the character himself is dealing with being graceful in war. A thin red line. And yeah, that hurt. Anyway, that's an incredible film to see as well. But this particular filmmaker deals with these, with this whole thing of, you know what, if I can get the script out of everybody's hands, I'm going to make a better movie. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's painful to watch.
Well, it's definitely painful to watch in the case of The Tree of Life. But I appreciated the experimentation, the exploration of it, but at the same time, these days, anytime I see a movie with the category experimental, I think
you just back off.
I back off. It's like only if I have the time.
See, I like experimental music. I like experimental film. I enjoy experimental theater, like kabuki, like all sorts of weird. I like to go way outside. But you don't see it in my films. So this new film, that's part of the reason why I said, let me go outside on this film, outside of the story arc, outside of dialogue. This film is completely middle of the road, this one we're about to see. And it's not that it's not me, it's all me. And I'm very happy with it. I'm proud of it. And I think there's some real gorgeous scenes in it and some very touching emotional moments and some good humor. But like as a musician, I like to go outside. So I'm going to try and go outside.
Okay. So when you say middle of the road, what do you mean as a description for this movie?
Middle of the road meaning that it's not challenging, whereas Tree of Life is a very challenging film. You have to challenge yourself to sit and let it happen to you, and then think about it for the next 3 days.
No. Not worth it.
It's not, yeah, like, so, you know what I mean? Like, so.
I only say that because it fits into, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
It fits into, I'm not a fan of these filmmakers or storytellers who are like, I like to leave it up to my audience to decide what I made.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, did you mean to do anything or did you not? Like, what does it actually mean? Does it mean anything to you, or did you just put the camera here, catch some cool stuff, put it together, and then you're going to, give yourself all the credit people are willing to give the movie? Because it's basically just, you're just saying that they say it means this. So yes, it does mean that. They're saying it means this. Yes, it means that too. They're saying it means this. Yes, it means that too. They don't actually know what they meant. They just saw some stuff that they liked.
I got to tell you the truth, man. You make such an excellent point. And for the most part, you're 100% correct based on the popularity of movies, right? Like, the most popular movies are you're going to win your argument. But you run into problems with The Tree of Life. You run into problems with 2001: A Space Odyssey. You run into problems with Apocalypse Now. You know what I mean? Like, you run into some problems, but the difference is in high art. Now, if you go on YouTube right now and look up chick fails, it's going to have 3 million hits. If you look up Noam Chomsky, it's got 10,000 hits.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which one is offering more to society? You know what I mean? But as human beings, sometimes, listen, this world is difficult, man. It is very difficult being in the human condition. And right now, when I go home, the only thing I want to see if I watch a movie is maybe Tom Cruise, because I just don't want to fucking go there. I just want to be entertained or whatever. I know I want to go to a safe place where I know Tom Cruise is never going to hurt me, and I'm never going to have to think about my humanity or any of that bullshit, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why Tom Cruise is the #1 actor of like all time, and box office.
He, just like Xenu, wants you to be whole.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's really like, and there's a tremendous place for that, not only in our society, but there's a tremendous place for that in art, right? But as a musician, again, I go with the guys who say, I'm never going to tell you what my lyrics mean, because then I rob from you your meaning of my lyrics.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you find that a lot with great musicians and great lyricists. So while I agree with you, 98% of the time, you're dead balls on with what you said, but that I like to leave room for that 2% hoping that they're high art and they knock it out of the park, and I got to think about it and maybe even watch it again and maybe watch it a third and a fourth time. If you go online right now and look up 2001: A Space Odyssey, it's the most expensive movie to buy live streaming. It's like $26 or $35.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. To own 2001: A Space Odyssey, like on iTunes or whatever, Amazon or whatever.
I want to watch that because, as a fan of Interstellar, that movie is set to be the new version of 2001: Space Odyssey.
You've never seen 2001?
Haven't seen it.
Okay, so it's not painful. It's not as painful as Tree of Life.
Well, I'm expecting it to be good. If they equate it to that movie.
Well, it's Stanley Kubrick. Like it's good. I mean, you should see all Kubrick's films. But it's again though the ending is ambiguous to say the least, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the ending is very ambiguous. And leaves you really thinking, man. Like,
hey, I like to think. I love art.
But I have no doubt that you like to think. There's no doubt in my mind.
my only thing is would you buy a painting for $200 million?
Personally, no. I mean, if I had, $18 billion,
some people would buy paintings for $200 million. But
that's a tax shelter. That's a financial shelter. That's not an enjoyment aspect. Oddly enough, I'm in people's homes that are ridiculously expensive, and they buy the home they're in and other $10 million homes and $50 million homes because of the title it's given. It's real estate. It can't be fucked with by the banks. It can't be manipulated by markets. It can't be stolen from you. They can't have a bank holiday on it. It's not in a foreign government's hands. It's there. It's real, and it's got a value. And if you have that much money, you got to put it somewhere. You can't leave it in the bank because they'll find a way to get it from you. You can't put it in the stock market. They'll find a way to get it from you. So these people that are filthy rich, so maybe that was a bad example on your part, but someone recently told me that they were in a museum and cried at a painting. I haven't had that experience. Is that what you mean?
Not yet. I haven't had that experience.
I haven't had that experience.
No, I mean, what I mean is, I get what you're saying. I didn't know about that. I didn't look at paintings that way, but
it's a store of wealth.
Well, I get you, but what I was saying is it really art? If you don't know what it means.
Oh, I'm with you there.
You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between saying, I won't tell you its meaning versus, is there actually a meaning?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and my thing is, I feel like 98%, there's not actually a meaning. It's just masquerading as art.
Then you're getting into Andy Warhol, right? Like Andy Warhol's art, his entire art is that question. And answering it with showing us pictures of himself or Campbell soup cans and go, is this art? Is this art? Is this art? Is this art? Where's art? Where do we draw the line? You know what I mean? I'm not a huge Andy Warhol fan, but I understand the process and the principles of what he was doing.
Well, no, it seems like he had a reason for what he was doing. He was trying to say...
He was asking the question you just asked.
But that's meaning. But some people...
But he got paid millions of dollars to do it with the pieces of art.
But it's not about the money. The point was that he was trying to say something.
Yes, without a doubt, 100%.
Something specific.
Now, and it was qualified in its time. It was well-meaning in its time. It was the exact question that should have been asked when it was asked. I wish that we had answered it differently, but that's another problem.
What was the answer? Yes, right?
That was the problem. Was the answer was like, yeah, we can commodify this. Like, we'll make anything art. We'll call it modern art. We'll sell it for millions of dollars, and there's no morality to it. There's no ethics to it. There's no nothing to it.
But how's that different from Dada?
It's consumerism.
But how's that different from Dada?
Yeah, no, it's fine that we continue to ask the question. I'm just waiting for the day when we get the other answer. That doesn't mean I want to see Tom Cruise go away and only have the Tree of Life. You know what I mean? But like, you're such an intelligent guy, dude. It's so great to have like a deep conversation with you about this. It's these finite minutia details that we play with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that all artists should be playing with. So I don't have all the right answers on this stuff, but I do like to explore the outside. Like when I listen to music, it's jazz, and it's sometimes really nasty jazz, like really crazy. So I've made 2 normal films that are middle of the road, meaning that they're not going to offend anyone. They're not going to make people think. It's just going to happen to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
They've given me their suspension of disbelief, and I'm not going to hurt them.
It's a movie, not a film.
Yeah, exactly. It's a movie, not a film. My next one, I'm trying to make a film.
I like that. I like the way you put it. I make movies, but now I'm trying to make a film.
I'm gonna make a film, man.
It's gonna be artistic.
Yeah, it's gonna haunt you forever.
I love experimental stuff by people who have something to say. I just don't like people telling me I have made art. But if you were to ask the question, what does this mean, or what were you trying to say, and they don't have an answer, they weren't trying to say anything. They're trying to let you make it. Well, I made the art myself. Then that's not your art. That's my art.
That's a great point. That's an incredible point. So if I make music, wow, that's it. That's fairly profound, dude. As the viewer, you've made the art.
Thank you. Yes.
That's pretty profound.
If
dude.
I have to give something meaning, it's art to me. It's not you being the artist who
you didn't create the art. I've created your art for me.
You just gave me the paint. That's all.
But is that true with music? Maybe it's not fair to go here because music evokes time, a memory. So when you hear a song, it doesn't matter what the lyrics were. Let's take 50 Cent, for instance. When he's doing, at the club, whatever, like, whatever he does, and he's like hanging upside down and doing sit-ups and all that. Like, it's not, when you remember that, it's not about what 50 Cent was saying. You remember when you heard it. You remember the time that you lived and what was going on in your time in your life at that time. You know what I mean? And that was the greatest strut you could, tune you could use at that time. Does that mean you made it art? I don't know. That's profound, dude. I'm going to think about this for a while. I got to find other examples of that, dude.
Yeah, I think it applies to everything. Music.
Does it? Does it apply to music?
Absolutely. Well, the thing about music is usually they tell you what the meaning is if it's rap or if they're singing, but the principle behind whether or not you put something together a certain way to give it meaning or to say something versus people perceiving it and giving it their own meaning. And the artist, if you could ask them, did it mean anything? If they say no, I don't think it's art. Or if they don't know, I don't think it's art. I think it's only art if it has meaning. And depending on whether or not you gave it meaning or your audience gave it meaning would mean you are or are not an artist to me, in my opinion.
So what about like The Big Lebowski? Like that was
a cool movie.
Right, but because it was so cool to so many people, it became something other than what it was intended to be.
No? It's almost like it created its own zeitgeist.
It really right. So then that's art. That's double. So then, by your definition, that's art that was created by the artist and made a statement, and then it was recreated by the audience as something larger even than the original artwork.
That might be the greatest.
Double.
Maybe the greatest works of art not only have their intended meaning, their denotation, but also connotations over time to where something becomes zeitgeist or pop, or and just gets recreated with little twists, and everything is just based on when we think of gangster movies, we think of The Godfather. It's a Godfather movie. It's a gangster movie.
Yeah.
It's the grandfather of all gangster movies.
Yeah.
Those are the most powerful kinds.
See, now, you didn't grow up like I did, dude. I had to follow in the wake of what these guys did in the 60s and 70s. Apocalypse Now was forever the movie, the war movie. And then everybody had to do their Apocalypse Now, including A Thin Red Line. And it became so sickening to see another Vietnam movie. And I get it, the whole generation had this problem, and they all went through it. But everything before it, every war movie before it, didn't matter anymore. And every movie after it was chasing it to some degree or another, until we got to Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and he recreated the genre with his particular art, which is a technical art. But I don't know where I was going with that. But my generation, you know, it's funny when we talk because it's like to think that you've never seen 2001. Have you ever seen any? I'm sure you've seen The Shining.
I haven't seen The Shining.
How about with the Droogies and all, the one the fucking crazy one? My God.
Hi Hotch, whatever his name is.
No. Oh, look up Stanley Kubrick. What's the names of all his films? I mean, dude, you gotta see. You gotta see 2001, and then you gotta see the other one. Google Stanley Kubrick. I can't believe I'm going up on this.
He's the only Stanley that matters on Google.
I know, right? Okay, so where are the movies? Yeah, go to his wiki, right? That'll give you the. Boy, they can write a lot about this guy, huh?
Absolutely.
They just don't. They don't stop writing about this guy, man.
I mean, there's so much to write.
I'm sure you've seen. Have you seen Eyes Wide Shut? His last film.
I have not.
Have you seen AI, the one that Spielberg did after his death? But he wrote the screenplay, and then Steven Spielberg shot it after his death.
The one for Netflix?
No, it's a couple of years old now. But
is it about AI?
Yeah.
I think that's the one.
It's Haley Joel Osment plays like a robot. Jude Law is in it.
Yeah, I think I did see it.
That's a hauntingly great film. But it's basically a Stanley Kubrick film that Spielberg shot.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So this guy's notorious for, you know.
Look at all these movies.
I know, right? Yeah, you'd think it'd pop right up.
That might be a different Stanley Kubrick.
A Clockwork Orange. Have you ever seen A Clockwork Orange?
I've not. I've heard of all these movies. I've never seen it.
Okay, so Doctor Strangelove is great because it's and Full Metal Jacket you've seen, right? Have you ever seen Full Metal Jacket?
I've seen Full Metal Jacket.
Okay, so Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut, Clockwork Orange is maybe the most ridiculous movie you'll ever see in your entire life, and the theme of it and what actually happens on film puts Quentin Tarantino to shame.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino will never get as far as A Clockwork Orange goes. And that's saying a lot because obviously Quentin Tarantino goes pretty far.
He does his thing, but he's good at doing his thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm not taking away from Quentin Tarantino.
Well, what I mean is I don't see him not being Quentin Tarantino.
No.
In his work.
Well, so with this guy, though, you see very different films each time. But
Lolita. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, of course, Peter Sellers. Do you know who Peter Sellers is in Doctor Strangelove there? Peter Sellers used to do the Pink Panther. He's an incredibly great actor. He would come in and only be able to work for a couple hours. So Stanley Kubrick only works with like 3 people in his crew. And he does all the cinematography himself. And he does like 100 takes. He's like a lunatic. He's a total perfectionist. But he does get some of the most gorgeous shots ever taken. And then you get Peter Sellers, who's known for being like a super quirky guy. And he would come in. So these 2 like superpowers of weirdness. And so Doctor Strangelove is a great movie. It's also called How I Fell in Love with the Bomb. So it deals with post-war nuclear expansion. And then, of course, A Full Metal Jacket has some of the greatest scenes ever that we, for my generation, A Full Metal Jacket is like some of the scenes in there, with that drill sergeant, that whole bit is like incredible. Eyes Wide Shut never really did it for me. But A Clockwork Orange in 2001, those leave you skin crawling, dude. Like, you're a different person after you see those films. Like, without a doubt. The Shining never did it. The Shining's a great movie, but it didn't change my life. 2001 and Clockwork Orange will literally change your life. They will change your perspective on the world you live in. Like, it's that incredible.
Okay. Can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
You know, I probably stay away from the older movies just because I have a bias against the look of older film. It has nothing to do with the storytelling because I find the storytelling to largely be better in the older days.
Well, they're paced and edited slower.
They're definitely more classically structured.
Yeah.
Versus movies today are just kind of calculated and just kind of formulated a bit way more than they used to be. But it's the look of this old grain and stuff or whatever I found depressing for whatever weird reason.
Yeah.
It has to do with being forgotten and being lonely or something like that. But that's the only reason I haven't seen it. Otherwise, I've heard of all these goddamn movies, so I know they must be very significant.
I mean, he's considered one of the top 3 to 5 filmmakers of all time.
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, like the funny thing about this week is that it's the first running week of Quentin Tarantino's new Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and so this film, A Clockwork Orange, was filmed at the time when Quentin Tarantino was trying to get his back to, right? So Quentin Tarantino shoots a movie now about 1969. All right. A Clockwork Orange, it's shot in 1971, but it's a similar aesthetic. But it's a postmodern look at the future. But it looks very much from the past because they didn't really get it right on what the future was going to look like.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, of course, 2001, which was shot in 1968. When you watch that movie, you'll be surprised because it's shot before we landed on the moon, and it's shot 10 years before Star Wars, and it is gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
The way that they do it, and it's like a lot of back then because there's no digital anything, right? So they have to take these giant panes of glass and draw a little ship on it, and then move the pane of glass towards a picture. A composite picture of like the moon or whatever planet they're going to land on or whatever ship they're going to dock to. You know what I mean? So, and then this guy was such a lunatic, such a perfectionist that he would do it multiple times in tests at different f-stops with different ISOs, with different stock footage
To see if he can get it the way that he saw it.
to see it, to get it dead balls on. Then they would wait for the dailies of the tests and then go back and actually shoot it. I mean, you're talking about the height of filmmaking of all time is in 2001. The technical expertise that they needed at that time period to shoot that is fucking incredible.
So if he were making films today with the technology that's available to him today, he probably would be doing shit that's just out of this world crazy. Huh?
So AI is a perfect example of that. So what happened was he wouldn't do AI because the technology wasn't there yet. And Spielberg kept telling him like, no, we can do it. And he's like, no, man, I'm looking at your work. You're not there yet. And he's telling Steven Spielberg, you're not there yet with my script.
Steven Spielberg, right?
So then the guy dies. He dies like within a week of Eyes Wide Shut coming out. So that's 1999. So Spielberg goes and grabs the script and shoots the movie like within a year or two or whatever it was. And it's a gorgeous film, in the hands of Spielberg. It was wildly different than if Stanley Kubrick had done it. But you wind up, this film makes you think too. This film sticks with you for a little while. Yeah, so I'm talking about that one with Haley Joel Osment and Jude Law.
This right here? I haven't seen this.
Yeah, that's the one.
This came out a couple of years ago?
Yeah, what year? Does it have a year on it? Oh, I would think it's 15 years old by now. And it's long.
Oh, that's what you meant by a couple of years. I mean, if it has to do with AI or aliens, I would have thought I've seen it. But
it's you almost cry. I mean, it's incredible. It's epic in its proportions.
What is this? Okay, well, I need to watch this because
it's Spielberg and Kubrick.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm very interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's so yeah. By the time you get to the end, it's really something. Yeah, you almost cry. I like crying at movies. You like crying at movies?
Absolutely.
I actually enjoy it.
Yeah, if a movie can make me cry, absolutely. That's the reason you watch dramas.
Yeah.
Is you want something that's going to move you.
I cry at beautiful things that happen in movies. I don't cry at bad, horrible things.
But you have to. If they've done it right, you're going to have to cry. Because it's like you become invested in the character and their choices. And if something bad happens, if you don't cry, then I don't think they did it right.
So, all right, so let's go there, right? So, coming from whatever background you come from, right? Is there anything you're going to see on a screen that's going to make you cry that was worse than what happened to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I cried at Pan's Labyrinth. You've seen that?
Yeah, but that was a long time ago, no?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, that's isn't that like a stop animation, like puppet movie?
No, that's the Guillermo del Toro movie.
Oh.
This one here.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro, yeah. Oh, you cried at this thing
Absolutely.
with the weird eyes? Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't watch the whole movie. This guy don't do it for me. Yeah, I don't. This guy's got a weird that I can't groove to.
No, Hellboy. You didn't like Hellboy?
No.
Blade.
No.
You didn't like Blade?
I did. And I like him, and I like the action of it. But no, I'm fine that it went away.
Well, he's got.
I did like the other one though, the new one that he won the Oscar for. The fish man that she falls in love with the fish man. The Shape of Water.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
The Shape of Water, actually, it's a beautiful movie.
He's one of my favorite just because of Pan's Labyrinth. It's not about the creatures or whatever. It's about the journey
story?
the journey of the child. What happened with the kid?
I think.
But you have to watch the movie to.
I know.
feel
I
it,
saw
right?
enough of it to turn it off because it like raised a couple of hairs in places that I didn't want them raised.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I was heading towards a cry or something and didn't want to go there.
I think you would have got there.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
It's a very well done movie.
I should watch it with my kids.
No, don't watch it with your kids. Well, no, don't watch it. How old are your kids again?
7 and 10.
Maybe the 10-year-old. Don't watch it with the 7-year-olds.
No, huh?
No, not yet.
It's he goes somewhere. It's dark. It's weird.
It's a very good movie. It's a dark account of a fairy tale being told by a girl who's in the middle of a war.
Oh.
And
oh yeah, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, and she's like, and it's left ambiguous as to how much of what she's seeing is actually happening. Like, is Pan really, there? Just kind of showing up when what's his name is not looking, or is she making all this up? And then at the end, did she really go anywhere, or did she really, you know what I mean? They leave you lit enough, but you should know as an adult what happened. But I think the other part is there for kids.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's made with two audiences in mind, and I think it's really, really well done for that reason too.
Wow. Well, I have to give this guy a lot of credit. When it comes to understanding himself and understanding his place in the business and understanding where his films fit in and letting them be whatever they are and let them fit in and let them live their life, he's an amazing individual and a great director. Not a lot of his work speaks to me, but I have tremendous respect for the man.
He's made a lot of different. I don't find him to be like I don't find him to make the same movie over and over like other people.
Yeah.
He does have things that he cares about, like very specific things, but they don't turn out to be like the overarching theme of the movie. They'll just kind of be features. But like he did Pacific Rim.
Yeah, he's done those. Yeah,
and he's definitely got a little bit of he's got his quirks.
Yeah,
that I think are pretty well done.
Yeah.
He gets the right actors to do those quirks. But this film, the villain in this film, is like I kind of compare him to Hitler a little bit.
Really?
He's a very effective villain.
Well, is it World War II? Like when you say
it's not. It's actually it's a Spanish conflict. I can't remember which war it is, but it's the rebels against the new government, I guess. And this girl is caught up in this struggle where she's living on the base of the new government military. Her mother is like in love with the captain there. The captain is running the place, but he is this vicious guy, almost like a machine that they put in place to kind of wipe out the rebels in the area.
Oh, wow.
And then there's people in his camp that work with the rebels, and then she's like seeing certain things happening, and she's a witness, and
it's her stepdad. So there's like,
and then there's multiple stories going on. Yeah,
it's
her
like layers
stepdad.
on layers on layers. Then.
It's well done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I guess with a name like Labyrinth, I guess there's layers upon layers and layers.
There's gotta be layers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we started out with middle of the road.
Yeah, middle of. Sorry, let's get back to this big.
Yeah, we wound up to middle of the road, and we went on a nice little journey.
And now we're back again.
And we learned some stuff. I'm so happy you turned me on to that. I'm going to watch that. And of course, the most profound thing said so far is that if I give meaning to your work, then I'm the artist. That's so great, dude.
Right? I mean, that's what I feel.
Man.
That's what I feel.
I love it.
Oops.
Oh, we wound up. Okay.
All right. So this is this big. I like this shot. That's cool.
Mais pour qui il se prend celui-là? Il croit que je lui pardonnerai.
Are you ready to lose? I have my new game controller, and these buttons are fast. Oh yeah, I sent your battleship. We can't. We can't what? We can't play Battle Royale? Is your TV broken?
Jamais.
Mama got flowers and she won't stop screaming.
Mais j'arrive pas. Toi qui m'as envoyé des fleurs. Mais pour qui se prend celui-là?
Bryson thinks you're cheating and making plans against us. 9 out of 10 doctor surveys say no. We can't play anyways. Why not? Ryan's mom got flowers.
Oh!
Mary had a little lamb. Chick. No more
I
lamb.
love the ensemble when it comes to
hit.
kids.
What was that?
I said I love the ensemble approach when it comes to working with kids.
Yeah.
There's less work for
Fine.
all of them, and it's more fun when they're all there too.
Sorry, how much is it going to cost this time?
It was fun, dude. It was a lot of fun. And
What is that
these
thing?
kids had a
This
blast.
is this.
Did they all come to the showing, screening of it?
Oh, yeah.
They liked it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get out of here.
They need that too. Like for kids to get better at acting, they've got to have the ability to see their work on screen so that they can understand.
With the audience.
Yeah, with an audience too, but so that they can also understand. Oh, I did it a little too much. Like that was overacting. Like I was, or I should have been louder, or I can afford to do. You know what I mean? Because they learn through example, and when they can see themselves on the screen, it helps them a lot. I stress that with adults, but it certainly helps kids.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was in New York City acting classes, we filmed every class and watched it.
You got to. I don't understand how you have class and don't film it because as long as you have the ability to show it really fast right after, it's definitely a useful tool.
I think you need bait. Yeah, I think he's right. Like what? We ain't got nothing with us. Hold on, let me look it up. Worms! From where? You dig them up. They live in the dirt. Dig with what? What? We need something to dig a hole with so we can catch some worms.
And this is cool. They've all got their own little personalities.
Yeah, yeah.
And looks and colors. The color is good too. You spread it out. There's green on the kid with the glasses. There's gray on him.
Yeah, there's 2 gray shirts. Other than that, though, they
Good
yeah.
balance. Good balance.
Yeah, it's a decent balance.
Yeah, it's like you got to think like Power Rangers.
And and they're also like the same type of textures. They're the same.
What about this?
There's no, you know.
Yeah, this looks beautiful, man. This is the one I shot on red.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks
Yeah.
very nice. Bet you appreciate that with the highlights and stuff too.
Yeah.
Peanut butter and jelly!
So the next thing coming up,
Hold still.
you know, we had to deal with a lot of weather issues. We dealt with a lot with this thing.
Ready? Aim! Fire!
Sorry, 1 second. There's a delay.
Now don't move the line or reel it in. It says that was scared the fish just.
Like look up here.
Hang on 1 second. I gotta give the computer a second to catch up
alright.
with itself. Okay. Yeah.
Wait until that thing.
What were you saying?
Starts moving,
The-
then pull up
the water.
onto the line and reel
Yeah,
it
you
back.
can see all the detail.
Yeah, man, it's gorgeous. Now this is one of the nicest shots in the whole thing. I mean, it's just beautiful.
I'll tell you what I don't enjoy having a camera that high quality
What's that?
is shooting with adults who are too obsessed with their looks.
Oh,
They
wow.
can see everything.
Yeah.
The makeup's not perfect. The light is not perfect.
Yeah.
This is why I have no problem shooting with a DSLR.
Yeah.
It's like, chill out. It's high definition, but not super high enough for you to obsess over stupid stuff.
Getting used to it. My mom said he was arrested for selling alcohol at his lemonade stand. And I should stay away from him.
This is just funny, the net.
Yeah, really? Why, do you like him? Who? What dog? I got one! That's cheating. Let me see.
I mean, all that's completely
Me
natural.
one.
Like
Me
all his
too.
reactions are like
Not
just
me.
dead on
No
natural.
way.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Like all these sequences, I enjoyed it because it all feels kiddie,
Yeah.
and it just fits the theme and the subject matter of it all. And I love the mood music too.
The music helps out a lot. It tells you exactly where you're supposed to be.
This is cool too. You guys
Yeah.
did a good job on that. I've never done that in editing.
This is more natural to my wife because she's a Photoshop person, not a Premiere person. So she's great with stills. You know.
Yeah, but that's well done. The she's got the sound of the
Oh, yeah,
texts
man.
and everything.
Yeah.
Is it my mom? I knew it! I think I started pushing those pictures. I knew it! Is she coming here?
Now look at how the weather
I don't
changed.
Yeah.
We got so lucky, dude.
Has normal parents. Why me? I never breathe the air without finding something protecting me. Look at this hat. And what about this? She powdered my ass.
Yeah, that was funny.
That's the best compliment I could
was-
come up with.
I was not expecting it when it came out. She powders my ass. Bam! Thunder.
I'm not no. Okay. Me neither.
Well, that's got to shatter a kid's life. No, to say
Look at
that.
me. Look. It moved. Pull it in.
And then we turn right into this, like, you know, Fields of Glory,
Yeah.
like, you know, like he goes from that to
The
winning.
epic,
you
the
know?
epic of the fish.
Yeah, this is the GoPro shot. The actual fish, you know. Yeah, and the winning thematic theme, you know, like.
And it's a small fish. Yeah, I like that too. A little reference to Titanic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Those 3 pictures covers up an editing problem.
This is a nice shot too.
Yeah.
What editing problem?
This was a great day.
Well, we'll go over it in a
I
minute.
hope the one gets Flyers next Saturday. Bomb!
I love that mailbox. See, this guy's just got an eye, dude. Like, you know.
I'm gonna leave that in. I'm gonna keep.
Yeah,
that.
like he just knew. Like I was like, wow, man, this guy's
the same
something.
guy, right?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Ron Bordeaux. Ron Bordeaux. Yeah.
Shout out to Ron Bordeaux.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great talent.
It was all one shot too.
Yeah, this is all one shot.
Beautiful. She's got the powder.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
And then like we had to time all that, like, you know, so I'm standing behind him on the phone with her up the block and being like, okay, wait, okay, run it in, you know, like bring in the car, you know, and we probably only had to do that 3 times to nail that. I think actually twice. I only had 2 takes of that. Oh, and the outtake, yeah, it's comedy, so you keep the outtakes. So that's how I directed them through that whole thing where they put up the things. I sang this song and like so that he would do it all in time.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I do it with adults.
You know?
All right, you're going to the thing, you're doing this, you're doing that.
Yeah,
Because I know you're
yeah.
going to take out the audio.
It's MOS, you know, yeah. Actually, go back to that one last line I say. That's my favorite. There's 2 great lines in here for me. But the last thing I say is, I have the clapboard, and I go, okay, this is a scene in a movie about something. Click.
11B info.
You hear the wind? I mean, we had trouble, man.
That's the onboard mic, right?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, we didn't add the post.
I love it. 8D, insert take 2. I love it.
Right here, right, this one.
So, for people who don't know what those clapboards are for, they serve a purpose. Make sure you clap them. It's for you can't look like you. It's not just for looks. It's not a movie. It's actually serving a purpose.
It totally serves a purpose.
Yeah. Look up audio syncing.
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
Something or other about a movie, and this is one of the scenes in it.
Let me see that again.
8D, insert take 2. I love it.
Something or other about a movie, and this is one of the scenes in it.
Why not?
Never give your director the clapboard. You know, you're making choices like they're flying at you. The next thing you know, you got the clapboard. You're like, yeah, click.
You know, not the worst thing you can say. Not the worst thing you can say. The worst thing you can say is scene 47, camera C3, take A5. Find that shit. Go looking for that. Go listening to all the audio until you find where that matches.
I got it. Yeah, exactly. You make a great point because when you are looking for audio and syncing, you do need the click, but you need a reference in the beginning to not be like the other 5 audio references.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right.
Yeah. Second of all, don't do it. Don't sync audio. Just line in. It's worth it. It's not worth it. And, if you have to actually go through your files, like I've had to do for a couple of projects, if you have to go through and listen to them, even the ones that you do correct, it's just a pain in the ass. Just line in, have the audio come in with the video clip, and save yourself the time and the frustration.
We just did a small commercial project for a friend of mine's business, and we lined into the red. And yeah, it makes it so much easier. I don't know if I would do it on a film. Like the next one, we're not really using a lot of audio; it's all post. But the problem we had on audio with this one was because we were in the open area, we had a lot of wind, and then it was like a horrendous day. I had people sending me, video images of what storm was coming next and how much time I have between takes. I mean, it was a large pain in the ass. But we had a decent microphone and a little capture device and a decent sound guy, but we didn't really have a great dead cat. And we most certainly didn't have a blimp and a dead wombat, which would have been much better on this situation.
Never heard of a dead wombat.
It's just larger. It's just larger. A dead wombat fits over a blimp.
I just call it a cat too.
Yeah, no, like a large cat, a dead wombat. So the dead cat. I don't think we had a dead cat. We threw like a sock or like whatever it was. Like he could not bring the microphone down on top of their heads. He had to be inside that house structure, and we just weren't getting enough sound, man. Like sound was a pain in the ass. But then at the end, like, you're right. We didn't do the work of adding our extra sound in post. We just let the mic, the onboard mic, do the outtake stuff. But you can hear that wind.
Oh yeah, terrible.
Yeah, terrible, man. Yeah. We were dealing with it. My favorite line. Okay, so let's talk about conflict.
And before we move on, if there's anyone out there thinking about, hey, I want to be a crew, and you're trying to figure out what you need to do, we have no shortage, absolutely no shortage of audio people. So if you're trying to figure out what kind of equipment to invest in, and you want a lot of opportunities, you will find all the work that there is if you're an audio person.
No, so then we do have a shortage of audio. Not no.
We have a shortage of audio. That's what I meant to say. We need audio.
And people. You can start out
dedicated audio people.
Yeah, and you can get paid as audio, depending on if as you grow. But certainly you could start out in audio for probably about $300. You got to have enough equipment to make your buddy's film, and then quickly it can grow. But the guys with the $1,000 equipment, capture device and the lavalier microphones and the big mics and all the really high end gear, they get tons of work, man. Like they're turning down work for their best friends.
Look, if you need just your basics, get yourself a Rode. You can do if you need 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, Rode Video Mic Pro. That's the way to go. If you're gonna go with the XLR, get a Rode NGT2.
Yeah. So how much is that?
That you can just under 200.
Yeah,
under 200. And you need a recorder. There's a lot of choices, but you get a Tascam DR40 basic. So you can line into that thing. It is a recorder itself. But if you have the money, get the DR100 Mark II by Tascam that has the battery and the internal rechargeable. It's a great quality recorder. And then also, if you got your mic covered and you got your recorder and you just want to be able to offer the best audio possible, look into getting preamps, something other than what's already on the recorder. That will boost your sound, keep it clean, and just give you a little bit better file to work with when you get to editing. But those things.
Yeah, it's
and a boom mic or boom.
At this point in consumer products
and headphones.
Yeah, like we gotta have headphones. And you gotta have the booms now are the size of fishing poles and weigh as much. They're nothing.
$37 will get you a nice boom. My boom pole is $40, I think.
Yeah,
it's great.
So if you're going to tell people this, though, can we tell them the most important part?
Sure, go ahead. And learn.
What you're listening for, like, we don't want you to hear the plane. We want you to tell us it's there so we can stop and wait for it to go by.
Yeah.
We're not listening to the plane. We're listening for the plane so you can let us know, you got a plane. You got an audio problem. Or there's a motorcycle or a lawnmower or even if, unfortunately, you made the mistake and touched your boom pole to the wall or to the ceiling, or if you tripped over your own cable, you got to let us know, because we can't use any of that in the film.
Exactly.
We need the cleanest audio with no other noise other than dialogue. And I just was at an audio workshop recently that was really, really great by a guy named Dale Metz. He's a great filmmaker. And he had done a fair amount of homework, and he had a bunch of gear and whatnot, but he had a 3-foot rule. If your microphone is more than 3 feet away from your actor, you're not getting good audio. Because you wind up with a signal to noise ratio and a couple of other problems. So that's to audio people. But the thing that I learned from him that was amazing that I never, ever, ever considered was that at our stage of the game, that as a director, he makes choices based on what he can capture with sound. So if he can't get the microphone within 3 feet in the shot, he takes a different shot. It's more important to him to get the quality audio and get it as clean as possible than to get the better looking shot. And nothing takes you out of a movie quicker than bad sound.
Yeah, it gets you there really quickly.
Yeah,
bad sound, it's worse than a bad shot.
Yeah.
And that's in an 80 to 20 visually focused forum.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bad sound will take you out of a movie quick. But, it's funny because he also does a lot of stuff where he puts it on, he'll put his microphone on a boom and grab what's called a plate. So he'll take almost like a single frame of the background and then bring his actors in and do the shot and then composite them out. He'll take them out in post. He'll take out his own stand and his own microphone. So he'll actually take video where you can see the microphone and then edit it out, which is a little bit of work for some people. If you're new, it's a little difficult, but that's how important sound is. That's why he's saying that if you're capable and you want to work, you go for sound.
Yeah.
Sound.
Don't be afraid to speak up. Say, hey, the air conditioning's on and it wasn't on before. That's what you're there for. It is to focus on the actual sound quality of the film. And so that's so that they don't have to worry about that. They can worry about other stuff, but you got to say there's a plane. There's noise. There's this. You're going to need to say that line again because I didn't quite catch it, so that we don't have to reshoot and reschedule shit.
Yeah, like air conditioning, refrigerators. Like you don't walk into a room and hear the refrigerator. You put a boom mic on a pole with some power behind it and a pair of headphones on and crank the volume, and you can hear a fish fart. And we need to know if that fish farted.
Air conditionings and refrigerators, it may sound obvious, but when is the last time you walked in your kitchen and heard it, even though you can hear it? You don't focus on it.
No.
Yeah, and so it'll slip by me sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, the air conditioning's on. Just because you're so used to it. No, you got to turn that off. Yeah, you got to add sounds like that. You can't just let it be there.
I mean, sometimes you don't want a completely cold film. Sound wise, you need some sounds in it, like static. Sometimes we add noise to a film, but you want to be the one in control of that.
Yes, you don't want to be at the mercy of it.
Yeah, dead silence doesn't work. But in capture, it is what we're looking for.
Yes, absolutely.
From my humble beginnings, that's what I've learned so far. I hope it's useful.
And through my years of toil, I've learned it through the hard way. So
yeah. All right. So what did you think of conflict and all in this thing? We're talking conflict all night. Let's talk about conflict.
Well, let's talk about conflict. Well, in this movie, there wasn't much conflict happening. I mean, there was conflict, but what I'm saying is it happened at the end.
Yeah.
It happened at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, well, it happens at the beginning.
But
not
the movie isn't really built around the conflict, and that's the issue probably that the judge was talking about. So while there may be motivation to go to the lake, it seems like more of the focus is on the feel of the kids interacting with each other, which is fine. That was well done. But as far as conflict, I didn't really see much conflict. I don't even remember the conflict. I know they caught a fish, but I don't remember any conflict other than the mom.
So the mom has got flowers, and she's not happy about it, right?
She won't stop crying.
Yeah.
I remember when you told me that day what the line you had to tell the kid.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and trying to get him to say it that way.
Yeah. So he couldn't get the line. Actually, this I used. That's him with me directing him, trying to get the words out. He can't remember the lines. So I wound up using it, that scene, we had captured it. So I wound up using him doing that and adding the mother in. So it was a very useful thing, but, you know, it wasn't in the script like that. So you wind up, like you said, like if you let the cameras roll, you capture a bunch of things that you find useful later on in crafting the story, because there's the story you write, the story you shoot, and the story you edit. They're all different.
Absolutely.
So we have this little bit of conflict here where they thought it was Saturday and they were going to play video games at this kid's house, but his mom is screaming and breaking things. And I made her do it. I made it in French so that we didn't have to deal with the mother's problems. It's almost like the Peanuts. Womp, 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 womp.
What do you mean made it in French? Oh, she speaks French.
She's speaking in French. She's not speaking in English.
Okay.
Yeah, she's cursing in another language.
Okay.
So that we don't have to take that on, right? Because children don't listen to parents.
Correct.
Right? So it's as if she's an alien. So I made it in another language on purpose. That's a director's choice. Like, I could have done it in English, right?
That's good.
But I didn't. I said, no. She needs to be in another language. And the kid happens to be like Haitian. And so they speak French, you know, Creole, you know. So I went French.
That's fine.
Yeah. And then this little story, Mary had a little lamb, chick, chick, bang, no more lamb. My kid started singing it that week. So I rewrote the line that was supposed to happen there and gave him that line. One of the failings on this particular film is with this character, Kyle. Because I wanted him to be strange in his... So none of his dialogue actually works, but it's on purpose. So he comes in and goes, "I sunk your battleship." And then he goes, 9 out of 10 doctors say no. Right? So like so the dialogue, it's not supposed to work. But then unfortunately it doesn't work. It does its job. But people didn't connect it. So I guess I didn't sell it hard enough. I probably should have picked more obscure references for him. So people have been like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid?
So when you say it doesn't work, do you mean to say like he's supposed to be that kid who's always just saying crazy stuff all the time?
No, he's the kid that got arrested for selling alcohol at his lemonade stand.
All right. You know, they referenced it.
They reference it later on, right? So he's the same kid, Kyle. He's the same kid, right? So it's a continuation of Max and Kyle and a couple of their buddies, right?
Right.
So then, but the idea is when they sit down on the dock and she goes, "Hey, what's up with Kyle? Like, how come he never makes any sense?" And Maxwell goes, I don't know, man. It's just been that way for a while, right? So Maxwell doesn't know what's going on with the kid, you know, because he didn't get in as much trouble. But then the other kid says, "Well, I heard that he got in trouble for selling lemonade. He got arrested for selling lemonade, alcohol at his lemonade stand, and I should stay away from him." So now we know there's a societal problem around the kid. You know what I mean? Like other parents and like all that stuff feeds into a kid's psychology. Like, you know when your friend's parents don't like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a little kid, they're very perceptive, very body languagey. So I don't think I made I don't think I made his character strange enough. You know what I mean? Like oddball enough or had given him enough. I don't know if I probably I could have worked on the what happened in between Absolutely Lemonade and now. Had I really figured out what happened to him and how much trouble he got into, I probably would have written a better character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like we learn from our mistakes, so we have to analyze these things and come to terms with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just so we understand where we're at with it, you know.
Well, it may be one of those things where, you know, you really only could have known through hindsight. So it's like how important a character needs to be, you know. I do know in general, you're never really going to write a character the right way unless you know and understand what their backstory is.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, it's always going to seem like something's not quite right because something was left out.
And it's probably another. I'm glad you brought that up because I have to look at that now because they're my children. Like I wiped their ass. Like there's nothing I don't know about them. You know what I mean? Like, however, in a movie, they're characters.
Yeah.
So like, it's a personal issue, and
it's Lakima.
Oh, hi, Lakima. How are you? Is she following us?
I don't think she knows we're doing the show right now.
Aw.
I'm gonna have to decline right now.
Sorry, Lakima. We're declining you, but not because we want to.
Yeah, not because we don't want. I mean, not because we want.
Anyway, so what else? So then we don't have. All right, so then we get to the dock, and the conflict is they don't have bait. They don't know how to fish. They have no idea how to fish, right? They're modern kids.
Right.
Modern kids don't know how to fish. They know how to play on their iPhones.
Yeah.
So
I get the idea.
It's a fish out of water story, right?
Yeah.
These kids. This is a nice shot too. No,
I love that shot.
This is the drone shot, and the next sequence is amazing. So this is all in one, right? So check this out, man. I mean, this guy's good, dude. Check out this kid gets in, sneaks in, he goes all the way up. I mean, how gorgeous is that shot, dude?
That's a beautiful shot.
Right? Look at that. He gets around the pole. I mean, look at how much information.
The way they lined up.
Look at the whole thing, dude. Like, come on.
We lost the last kid, but that's okay.
That's all right. Well, because he goes to sit down. He goes to sit down. You know.
Look at that shot again.
Yeah, go all the way back to. Go even further all the way back to. Yeah, go from here. This we had to work on.
What's
for
his
a
name
while,
one more
too.
time?
Who, the
cinematographer?
Ron Bordeaux.
Ron Bordeaux is the man.
Yeah.
Check this out. Still smooth. See, man, Steadicam, that's been my thing. Like I much prefer handheld over a tripod. The only reason that we focus more on tripod is just because we have multi-cams, and that's the easiest way to.
Yeah.
Not everybody's Steadicam looks the same. You know what I mean? Their hands there's different levels of steady, and it takes practice. But
he's not this particular because Steadicam is an actual device. He's got a Ronin, and he's got a couple of Ronins, and so this is the big Ronin with the big handlebars, and then he's got like a support system on with a big thing over his head.
I know you're talking. He better. That thing is heavy.
Yeah, that thing's heavy with a red on it, which is this big, you know. So yeah, he's married to that machine, which is a little different than the Steadicam. Steadicam is even more difficult.
Yeah, I meant just handheld in general.
Yeah,
handheld. That's more fun.
See now,
I like handheld.
So we're building tension here, and the kids are laughing at him because he puts this thing on, but because his mother is overprotective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and then he's trying to solve their conflict of, you know, you gotta get a worm. We gotta, you know, whatever. So there's little tiny conflicts, but it's not this grand conflict that's irreversible.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like great conflict is irreversible.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. The outcomes, yeah.
Yeah.
It causes change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The conflict are kid conflicts.
They're kid conflicts, you know what I mean?
And that's fine.
And it's just, and the music keeps it in that vibe of this is cute, this is okay. We're not looking to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you do irreversible conflicts with a kid story?
You know, I mean, can you write your own children irreversible conflict? You got to be a mean parent to do that, man. You're the mean mofo.
Can you know?
You hire other kids to do that.
I hear you. I think you can though. I mean, it's just the subject matter of depending on your movie.
Yes.
If it's about lying, lies can create irreversible conflicts, and kids lie all the time.
Yeah.
Friendships, things that happens in friendships, you know, it's just the consequences that happen to kids, which is they normally get away with. Basically, they do a lot of crazy stuff and get away with it. You know,
it's funny. Like okay, so like one kid lies to another kid, irreversible conflict means they lose that friend.
Yes.
It sounds like a fucking Saturday. It sounds like a bad television show for
Saturday
kids.
morning, Saturday special.
You know what I mean? Whereas and it's funny that you brought it up because these
After
kids,
school special.
Yeah, it's like an after school
Yeah.
special, right? So these kids, their world isn't like yours was when you were this age, and it definitely wasn't like mine because I grew up in the 70s. I was this age in like 78.
Yeah, this does have an old school feel to it.
So what we were doing was we were trying to get back to like so it's a fish out of water, but the other subtext layers of it are generational. Mm-hmm. What happens if a kid has to live in my world when I was that age? What do they do? You know what I mean? Like, how do they deal with even the bikes, even the whole thing? Like, there's no movie with kids on bikes. We haven't seen one since fucking E.T.
Yeah, not anymore.
You know what I mean?
Yo, what are you doing? They're supposed to be on e-scooters, man.
Yeah, and all these kids are these kids aren't overweight, but kids today are just living a way different lifestyle. So we were going for like this weird throwback thing, and I'm kind of happy that I did it.
It felt
it felt a little throwbacky, right?
Yeah. Just the feel of just riding up, just laying your bike on the ground. You're at a garage. All of this feels like old school, 70s, 80s type stuff. So, meanwhile, they're on an iPhone.
That's the thing is like
so
it's the modernity with the thing. It's like, where's the balance? Like, what do we
that part is very interesting. Just how do you balance like when you want to go for some of that old school feel, but put it in a new school kind of texture. Like, what's the equivalent of riding up to a garage on a bike on a Saturday afternoon or whatever? What's the equivalent of that in our day? Good question.
I mean, my kids don't, unless I'm with them, like my kids just don't get on their bikes and go ride the neighborhood.
No, kids don't do that anymore.
I'd be considered a bad parent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to make a movie to get my kids on their bikes. And I don't want to, like this kid right here, the nicest guy in the world, he couldn't ride a bike. I had to give him the trike. I happen to own it, so I was like, all right, don't worry. I was going to put him on a scooter. And I'm like, you know what? I gave him that trike thing, which happens to be badass.
Yeah. I like the difference between her on the scooter, him on the trike, the other two on the bikes. Again, giving them all kind of character in some way.
Yo, can we have a fucked up conversation right now, man?
We might as well. There's kids on the screen.
Right? We had to decide. We live in such fucked up times, man. We had to decide if the dark kid would get a helmet or not.
Oh, let me go back.
The dark kid don't have no helmet throughout the whole movie.
Oh, yeah?
All the white kids got helmets.
Is he the only one?
He's the only one. Like, these guys got helmets. They're not wearing them now, but we see them wearing them earlier.
Right.
And these two are wearing them. But he has no helmet.
I don't really see a problem with that. Why was that a consideration?
Because he didn't own one in real life.
Okay.
So we were like, all right, well, that's reality.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And you thought, okay, so you feel like that would add some value to the...
So then what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, that's real.
But you felt like it...
And the dad is the cinematographer. Like, the dad is holding the camera. So I had to go to him and be like, all right, dude, what are we doing about...
Oh, his dad is actually the cinematographer?
His dad's the cinematographer.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, so what do we do with... And it was leading up. It was like, it wasn't a week-long conversation, right? Mm-hmm. But, like, because originally I was like, look, man, I don't want to add buckwheat to a movie today. Like, I'm not doing that, right? Like,
right. Who's buckwheat, by the way?
Oh, my God, really?
Sorry.
So buckwheat is... back in when I was a kid... the oldest thing you could watch was The Little Rascals, which was like in black and white. And when I was a kid in the late 60s, early 70s, we didn't think of it as racist. It turned out to be like pretty racist.
Okay.
But we didn't know that. And Buckwheat was the black kid with all these other white kids in this little community of the Little Rascals. But he was uneducated. He didn't speak well. And they made fun of him in a different way than they would each other, right? So he was and it was definitely racist. And then Bill Cosby wound up buying the whole rights to the whole thing and stowing it away for 30 years. And now apparently it's out there again. But it was a sign of the times, and it was what it was, right?
And when people want to put black kids in movies, did they call them, I'm going to get a buck week? Is that
Buck
like
week.
saying get a token?
Yeah, it's like
kinda
token.
character.
But it's token where you're making fun of them as being uneducated. So buckwheat is worse than token. Token is
shit.
Yeah, buckwheat is much worse than token. Like buckwheat is much worse than token, because we're laughing at his poverty, and we're laughing at his his lack of education.
Okay.
Like this, one of the most famous lines that Buckwheat says is "artichoke." It might choke Artie. Oh no, that was Stymie who says that, right? But yeah, like the guy, and it's funny. Little Rascals is harmless, but technically it's very stereotypical of a time.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get us to laugh at something that's probably not that cool, because color has nothing to do with poverty, and color has nothing to do with intelligence. So it's fine that we don't portray that anymore. So when this came up, and it's the son of the cinematographer, I'm like, all right. And now listen, in the other movie, this is great that we have this conversation. In Absolutely Lemonade, I made sure, it's a large cast, I made sure that I was diverse in my casting.
Okay. Because
I support that. Not because I want to be politically correct or whatever, but because that's something I wanted, and in this film, I said, all right, we got to make sure, because it's like a Little Rascals thing. To my generations, we see Little Rascals. You see Sandlot, or whatever you called it before, right?
Right.
I don't know. I've never seen that. I don't know what that is. But to my generation...
You ever seen The Sandlot?
No. But to my generation, this is Little Rascals.
The Great Bambino.
No, I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
I think Sandlot is even a little bit before my generation, too, a little bit. But I think that my generation would probably be like the Goonies or something.
Yeah, the Goonies and stuff, yeah. So I had to make sure, like, so when we brought in... the darker kid, I was like, yo, man, he can't be unintelligent. He can't be all these things. He can't be. I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to, because I don't want it to be referenced that way. I don't want it. I don't want to bring those memories back to people. I wasn't trying to glorify that. So it turned out that the character was already written with the name of Ryan, and that technically is the kid's name. So, and he's the kid, and he's...
Oh, his name is actually Ryan, too?
His name is actually Ryan.
Oh, okay.
And then it's his house we're meeting at. He's bilingual. He's got the computer. You know what I mean? He's the one Googling. So we didn't make him out to be a nerd or a genius or anything like that. But we certainly... You don't notice that color has nothing to do with this. You know what I mean? But when we got to the helmet, we said, oh, shit, he don't have a helmet. Mm-hmm. And he naturally doesn't have a helmet because his dad's like, whatever, I don't give a fuck about the helmet. You know what I mean? Like, where that don't fly in my neighborhood. Believe it or not, if I sent my kids out with that helmet on, other white people will be like, dude, I swear to God, dude, I swear to God, I'm not fucking with you, man. Like, white people are fucked up. Other white people will stop you and be like, yo, and if I don't wear a helmet riding my bike with my kids, they'd be like, wear a helmet. You're supposed to be wearing a helmet.
A grown-ass man can't ride his bike without wearing a helmet.
They fucking yell at you. Fucking Whitey. Whitey's on the moon. Right? So, like, fucking Whiteys love fascism. They just fucking embrace fascism. They're the worst fuckers on the planet, but I love them.
Whitey's on the moon?
You never heard that one?
What the hell does that mean?
So back during when we were putting the man on the moon, there was a great uprising. It was a difficult time in our country, right? The late '60s, and there was this great. It's like it's not considered one of the first rap albums, but it's a guy doing poetry like slams to music, and he would be like, you know, my sister Nell got bit by a rat, but Whitey's on the moon, and you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, and he goes through all these circumstances of what's going on in his neighborhood, and Whitey's on the moon, you know.
As if to say, like, Whitey's living on a different planet.
Yeah, Whitey's fucking like, yeah, Whitey don't give a fuck about me and what goes on in my neighborhood. Whitey's on the fucking moon, man. You know, like,
wow, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so it's actually in the new movie First Man with what's that guy's name? Anyway, it's about Neil Armstrong going to the moon. And it's out of the theaters and it's on. I just saw it on HBO. It's actually a very great movie. Not a lot of dialogue. Great movie. But there was a scene while everyone's watching the moon landing. They cut to this other scene, and this guy's doing it live. You know, the rat done bit my sister Nell, and Whitey's on the moon. You know, and you know, Howard Stern used to play it a lot. But anyway, so now I have this conflict. I have a conflict as a director with, and it's not a racial tension. I mean, you know, these guys, this guy who's the cinematographer, you know, we had no problem having the conversation. I'm like, what do we do? Do we give the kid a helmet? Or do we let the reality of the world now exist? Like, because in his neighborhood, he don't even have to wear a helmet. No one's going to say nothing to him.
Did it feel like a weird conversation?
It's always difficult to be white when you have to... when you have to have a conversation about, hey, am I too white? Hey, how white am I being?
I've never heard the words in this sequence. It's always difficult to be white.
Yeah.
When
you have to ask how white you are.
Is this too white of me to?
Am I too white? What do we do? Your dark son has no helmet. Am I too white?
What is that too white to say?
Oh man.
Is that wow?
But this is what we deal with, right?
I've got to use that. Like, it's difficult to be white. It's hard to be white when
you know you're being white.
Is this too white? Is it too white to say this? ...
Yeah, is that too white? Is it too early or too white?
Oh man.
You know, so in grand fashion of somebody who doesn't give a fuck about a helmet, the dad is like, I don't care what fucking choice you make there, Whitey. Like, you're bugging out. You're getting weird, Whitey. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, what the fuck? He didn't know what I was talking about.
Like, would it be offensive?
Yeah, like, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm like, man, like, if that, you know, like, you know, now I got kids. I got kids with helmets. I got one kid who's dark without a helmet. Do I give that kid a helmet? Am I a fucking racist? I'm like, what am I doing here? And I gotta bring it up to his dad, and his dad's holding like thousands of dollars worth of gear over his shoulder, and fucking, you know, he's making all these images as gorgeous as could be, and I'm like, we got a culture problem. But you know,
it's hilarious that you have to navigate this.
You know what I mean? Like, but the funny thing is that I don't give a fuck. Like, to me, it's the human experience. Like, I know what I am, and I'm honest. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not a racist. I don't have any issues with these conversations, but I'm gonna have them.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said before, like, these conversations people don't want to have.
Why give yourself a situation that you don't need to have later?
You know, yeah, like, why deal? Let's deal with this now. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it was, yeah, I mean, the guy laughed at me. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, your kids,
even occur to him.
He's like, your kids with helmets on their bikes, you know? Like, I'm like, yeah, dude. But anyway, I thought that would be nice because there's no conversation we can't have either. You know, and that's the joy if you can get past your whiteness. If you're willing to have any conversation in this world, then color doesn't matter. That's how you know that you don't have a problem with color, when you can have any conversation under the sun.
So I would have actually looked for the visual variety. The issue is not that he doesn't have a helmet. It's that then okay, if he's not going to have a helmet, not everyone who has a helmet needs to wear the helmet. So already two of the kids are not having. They basically need to just have a different style. Like, okay, well, one of them has knee pads and the others don't.
Yeah, well, so he's overprotected.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So that matches his character and his situation.
Yeah,
she's got the helmet on. He's got the other two have helmets, but they're not wearing.
Yeah, they're just not wearing them.
So I probably would have just had them basically have helmets, not wearing them, but not wearing them differently. So basically, maybe one of them has his like on his handlebars, and the other has his just wearing it a different way, just to give them all just continued variety and differences. And then of course, some kids don't wear helmets.
Yeah,
it's not a white thing. I mean, I see guys. Well, actually, I see a bunch of white people with helmets. Now that I think about it.
Think about it, dude, man.
I thought about that.
And think about it in movies. Think about it how we see it visually. Like, this is the thing, man. Like, if you see a movie and there's white people on bikes, those fuckers wearing helmets.
Well, I mean, not always. But I mean, if you're wearing a helmet, you're probably white.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Yo,
if you're wearing
racist.
a helmet, if you're wearing a helmet, you're most likely white.
You're most likely white, yeah.
Or your parents are white.
Yeah.
Either one is possibly true.
There's white influence on you.
Some kind of whiteness.
Yeah. So the first time, so like I grew up, in the 60s. We like we didn't have a helmet. It was ridiculous. There was no safety measures for anything. I would flop around the back of my mom's car.
Oh my gosh.
It was wild,
what
right?
was wrong with you people?
So my baby carriage looked like a shopping cart, made of the same material and everything, like metal and all that. So the first time I bought a bike helmet, because I love BMX and I love mountain biking, and I'm from New York, and I grew up in a town with like a really big mountain biking park. So all my friends are like, dude, like, you got to get a helmet. You got to get a helmet. And I had ridden half pipes and quarter pipes. I've done all sorts of stuff without a helmet on. And they're like, you got to get a helmet. You got to get a helmet. I'm like, all right, fine, man. I go get a helmet. I go out, I buy the helmet. I stick it on my head. The very first ride, man, I smashed my head, put a dent in the helmet, like the whole bit. I was like, wow, perfect timing.
Yeah.
Funny
how that happens.
Oh, it was so perfect.
Well, do you think it might be... Like, some people think that football would be safer without helmets.
I got to tell you, man, the way they used to play football...
With just the leather things on their heads. Yeah, not smart.
And they run with their hand out. Like, they didn't get as hurt as they do now, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but it might be because, like, when you put that helmet on, did you feel like you can be a little less careful because you are wearing a helmet now? Did you feel like you were gonna ride any differently?
So what is football in this country, right? It's soccer, foosball, and rugby, right? It's this combination of all these other games. None of those players wear a helmet. None of those other players wear a helmet. We've turned it into a gladiator blood sport of ultimate violence. That's the problem with football, not the helmet. The problem with football is that we've bastardized it and made it something that it's not intended, that it wasn't originally intended to be. And
now it's much more fun.
I don't know. I don't watch it, but I don't support that kind of violence. I know that sounds terrible, but I do not watch football, and I specifically don't watch it because of the violence. Yeah, but I know everyone loves it, so
I don't watch football either.
Yeah,
I'm not a.
I don't watch baseball because it's just boring as fuck. I don't watch soccer because I'm not European. You know what I mean? Like, I don't watch lacrosse because I'm not Native American. Like, I don't watch, I don't watch basketball because I own a helmet.
You know what sport I watch?
What?
Can you guess?
Golf.
Nah.
Tennis.
No, I watch MMA.
You do? Or you like real violence?
Not the violence, really. It's just
but the art of it.
The fighting, just people, fighters. It's just interesting. Like it's like fighters who are. It's like wrestling, but not fake. You know what I'm saying?
I think I've never watched it.
It's very interesting. It's a.
But don't they get it's like blood sport though? No, I mean they're like.
No, it's a legitimate sport.
It's mixed martial arts, right?
Yeah, mixed martial arts. But it's basically as far as the sports aspect of it, is legitimately seeing which martial arts are most effective in unarmed combat against another person. They have 3-round fights, have 5-round fights.
Oh, that's all they go is 3 and 5 rounds because they kick the shit out of each other. So
yeah,
quickly.
you don't need more than that.
No,
you don't need more than that. Some people think there shouldn't be 5-round fights.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but they're 5 minutes per round. So it's actually 15 minutes or 25 if it's a championship fight or main event fight.
Wow. Do they have it go all the way?
Go all the way?
Do they go all the way to the 5 rounds?
Some of them do. Yeah, those are decisions. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So if they don't finish by knockout or by submission, then they have what's called a decision where they judge based on who had the most effective damage, who controlled the Well, I watch UFC so their ring is an octagon.
Yeah.
The other company has like an actual ring or whatever, and they just kind of judge it on who's the most effective fighter. And the highest that you can go is called the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. They're basically like the NFL of fighting now.
Yeah.
And they just got an ESPN deal, so now it's like a lot of people are watching fighting now that they didn't used to.
So what draws you to fighting? Like, I mean, fighting is an interesting sport.
I think it was just the personalities. Like, you've heard of Conor McGregor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're Irish.
Crazy. That's an Irishman, my friend.
Yeah,
a lot of them like that, dude.
Basically he's like the Muhammad Ali of like trash talking.
Yeah.
Before the fight happens, everyone tunes in to see what he's going to say. He's always saying interesting, crazy shit. It's funny. It's legitimately entertaining. And he means it because he is one of the baddest motherfuckers in the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's made more money than all.
He's like getting close to a billionaire, no?
No, he's not a billionaire. He made $100 million from fighting Floyd Mayweather in boxing. Because he's so popular.
One fight, $100 million.
Yeah, he's so popular that he crossed over from MMA into boxing. So basically, he became the champion of his 145 division, went up in weight, beat the champion there, and he was the first one to call himself the champ because he had the 2 belts walking around.
Wow.
And then he was like, I don't know what anyone else has got for me. I might have to call out Floyd Mayweather, see what the fuck he's got for me.
Really?
Yeah. And then they started talking as if they were going to have this fight, and everyone thought, there's no way Floyd Mayweather's going to box this kid. Floyd Mayweather's 49-0. This guy doesn't really box. But the thing is, his style of fighting focuses a lot on the hands. He's not one of those kick-heavy guys.
Yeah.
He uses boxes in his thing. So it's like it was an interesting.
But no gloves.
No, there are gloves in MMA. They have.
Oh, they do.
They're like 4-ounce gloves.
Oh, okay.
They're a lot smaller than boxing gloves.
Yeah,
so it's like when they hit. And people can get knocked out really easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Floyd Mayweather says yes.
They eventually said yes
at 49, dude.
And nobody thought that it would happen because they just thought it would never happen. The boxing world isn't going to come. The commissions over there isn't going to come together with the UFC. The UFC is never going to let McGregor fight Floyd Mayweather. But it happened. They actually fought.
How long ago was this?
This was like a couple years ago.
And what was the outcome?
But basically, going into that fight, experts were saying that Conor McGregor wasn't even going to last a round. Again, Floyd Mayweather is considered probably one of the best boxers of all time. He's never lost. Definitely the best defensive boxer ever.
Wow!
But he has boring fights, and
he's
that damn good. But
yeah,
what in this fight?
I grew up with Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Like,
not only did this guy who's never had a professional boxing fight go past round 1, he went to round 10 with Floyd Mayweather and was winning rounds. He was winning. So
how did it end?
Floyd won by stoppage. Conor has this thing where he's an explosive fighter, so he'll get tired over the long.
He couldn't do it. Yeah.
So Floyd's thing is just kind of take him into deep waters, wear him out, that kind of thing. So that worked. But a lot of people were very impressed with Conor McGregor's boxing because he legitimately looked like a pro in there with.
I'm sure he trained his ass off for it, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's not going to make up the time difference between somebody who's a specialist in boxing. That's what they do.
Oh, yeah. Boxing is very different than any other, fighting type of You know, it's
Yeah.
a very different art. And he had to follow. So Conor McGregor had to follow regular fighting rules.
Yeah, and the Queensberry boxing kind of rules, and is a little bit more show than anything. It's like that, as if he's gonna stop and start doing MMA in a boxing fight or something like that. But yeah, he basically went to the sport. He boxed, and you know, it was well understood that it would cost him a whole lot of money if he threw like an elbow or something like that. So Floyd made like $400 million. He made $100 million. He's no other MMA fighter. MMA fighters don't make that kind of money. So Conor McGregor kind of changed the game, and like he became the money fight guy, and he started.
Wait a minute, Floyd made $400 million on one fight?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how big this fight is. You gotta understand, Conor McGregor is huge.
Yeah,
and people know who he is who aren't even in fighting. Just like Ronda Rousey. People who didn't even know fighting knew who Ronda Rousey was.
Yeah.
So, you know, this fight between Conor McGregor going against Floyd Mayweather, can this guy beat this guy? It was a freak show at first, but then it's like they had these huge ass, they went on this whole press tour where it's like all they did was just talk shit to each other for like 30 minutes. It was legitimately entertaining, but it kind of got repetitive. But they built the fight up. That's how huge it was. It was the only fight that was bigger was Floyd versus Manny.
And was it at Madison Square Garden where they hold it?
It was at Madison Square Garden, I think.
Yeah,
I think it was at Madison Square Garden.
And then they sold it live all over the globe.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they made a killing. How much money did it actually bring in?
Don't quite remember. I just know what each fighter got. If Floyd, of course, he got $400 million because he was the A side of this. Conor McGregor took $100 million. Probably didn't make as much as he should have made because, first of all, he had to. The UFC usually doesn't let their fighters go anywhere else. They're exclusive. You're in the UFC, you can't go fight in any other organization. You damn sure can't go to another sport until your contract is up. And they'll freeze your contract if you haven't finished all your fights or whatever. They'll be like, you did 6 out of 7. You're still at 6. Oh, wow. You haven't had a fight in 2 years? You're still at 6. You're locked up with us.
So he probably had to pay somebody off to make the deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he didn't even make the whole 100.
No, he made the 100. But what I'm saying is if Floyd made 400, he was owed more than just $100 million.
Oh yeah,
some of that went to the UFC.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Somebody got paid. To let him join in.
Yeah, but I mean, are you really going to complain about that extra $80 million when you're going to go ahead and make $100 million?
Well, I mean, because I saw him in an interview, it was probably last year, and I guess he said something stupid during like the Me Too movement or one of these things, and he was like, "Yo, stop! Don't put that out in the world. Like, what are you doing to me? Like, I'm about to become a billionaire. Like, I guess from other things, like." Other deals that he's got.
Oh yeah, now he's got his whiskey business.
Yeah,
he started doing whiskey, and he's making a killing off of that shit now.
Yeah, well, of course, around the world, them people love that whiskey. But I don't know if he's got any other sports clothing, or Nike, or anything else, you know. But he was like so, and what was going to happen was that it wouldn't. What he had said on tape, on live video, it wouldn't have hurt his MMA career, but it would have hurt all his other businesses.
Potentially, but then
he was like trying to back out of it, like, "Yo, man, like I didn't mean that, man. I shoot my mouth off a lot. That's my gig. That's what I do." Like what you were saying, he's like, "I don't believe that crap about women or whatever it was he was talking about." I'm like, "You're gonna ruin my business. I'm about to become like the youngest billionaire in Ireland. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't come after me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a bad guy, you know." But it probably didn't work, right? Because.
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
But that's part of his brand is he does crazy shit.
Yeah,
like
and he's Irish.
He's got a clothing line where the suit that he wore to the Floyd Mayweather thing, if you looked at the stripes real closely, the stripes were a bunch of words over and over. It just said "fuck you." That's all.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd like to own that suit. Actually, I would buy that suit. Yeah, that's great, dude. Oh my god.
But yeah, the entertainment of that brought me into like I wanted to see him fight. He's legitimately an entertaining fighter. The way he fights, it's action. It's not boring. And then I found out, look at the guy he's fighting. Well, that guy's interesting. Look at these people. Look at these guys. Oh, this guy they consider to be the greatest fighter of all time. What does that look like? And so I got into the sport of MMA.
Wow. Oh, so you were an adult. This is only happening in the last 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, only within the last 2 to 3 years, actually.
Yeah, I don't watch any sports. I don't have broadcast television. And
I don't either. Not many people do. You don't need it if you have the internet.
Yeah, well, no one your age has it. A lot of people my age still have it, and anything older than me definitely has broadcast television, which is a problem in this world because they're watching Fox, but whatever.
Shout out to all our Fox viewers out there.
Yeah.
It's all love.
But
but you're all brainwashed.
You're a little brainwashed, man. Sorry. No, I don't watch sports. I'd rather play them. I like bike riding. I like handball. I like racquetball. That's about it. I didn't grow up on a team. I couldn't do team sports.
No.
Nah.
Not really a team player.
It's not that. I just didn't have a father to take me to it. You know what I mean? You got to have a family structure to get involved with all these things because there's equipment, there's this, there's that, there's schedules. And as a little kid, you don't know how to keep a schedule.
Only reason I got into sports when I was in high school was to try and please my father or parents or whatever. But once if you're not going to be good at it, you're not going to do it really.
Well, what sport did you go to?
Oh, I did. I did football. I did track and field.
But in high school football, because you were the same height and weight, my high school football team was a bunch of little tiny dudes, and they were undefeated for 30 years, dude. It was a world record. But they were all, they were in a lower division. Mm-hmm. And when they had to play, the guys from the dark neighborhood, they would win, right? And it was a big deal, dude. Oh yeah, no. Let me tell you something, man. When my high school that I went to, Bethpage High School in Long Island, is world famous in high school football. Mm-hmm. They literally went 29 years or whatever, no game undefeated. They were 100% undefeated every single game for 30 years.
What school was this?
Bethpage High School.
Okay.
I could be wrong about the years, but it was a ridiculous amount of years. It wasn't 5 years. It was dozens of years, man. It was ridiculous. And I'll never forget, man, I grew up in a really racist town. A very racist town, and there's far more racism up north than they want to give themselves credit for. New York is not any bastion of liberalism, and there's tons of segregation. People are far more liberal here in Florida, and zero segregation. But because you can move next to me, but where I'm from, you can't move next to me, even today.
Because you can't afford it?
No, because you won't. They won't sell to you.
Oh
no.
Well, I mean, in some places that's still in the deeds. There's some places where if you try to buy a house, if you actually look at the deed, because it's the original deed that got carried over for years or whatever.
Wow, it actually says it.
Yeah, it says you don't sell to black people, don't sell to people not from another country, or it's just.
I believe it. Believe me, I believe it because I grew up around it. And but anyway, I forgot where I was going. What were we talking about?
So you're from a place where people were racist.
So when they would play the other football team that was from a black community,
right?
Oh, it was a fucking rivalry, man. Those games were insane, dude. In the amount of
were they winning by a large margin when they played games, or was it close games?
I never went to them.
Oh.
I would just go to the parking lot and see if any action broke out. You know what I mean? Because it was crazy. It was crazy, man. Those days were wild.
Are they still undefeated?
No. Since I left, they wound up being defeated. But they have the longest run, I think, of any high school of undefeated. But the guys were tiny, so they were in whatever division that they were in was I don't know how it works, but they were in a division where. They were kicking ass, but they were tiny little dudes. Some of them were fast. They were talented, dude.
They were tiny, or they were in a division where everybody else was tiny?
No, they were. Some of the players were tiny. They would be smaller than me. I'm 5'8", 170 pounds. Some of these guys were 5'4", 5'6", You know, you're not football players like we think of them.
But not like today.
Not like today, but they were so fast and they could turn on a dime. And they went through incredible training. These kids worked hard, man.
They probably had a good program.
It was that's what it was. It was that the coach was this guy named Howie Vokes, and you know, they weren't allowed out the night before a game.
He's probably a military dude.
They were like, it was like, yeah, I'm telling you, I come from a fascist little town. No, it's a beautiful town, nice people. But like, yeah, they were like, you know, they weren't allowed to see their girlfriend like 3 days before. They weren't allowed out the night of the
try
game.
that shit today.
Yeah, forget it. But yeah, it was interesting that I couldn't get into it, man. I was like, I just always felt like an outsider when it comes to team sports. I love working collaboratively as a team. Obviously, filmmaking wouldn't work, but maybe from an artistic point of view, I feel included in my creativity. Whereas in organized sports, didn't work for me, dude.
Definitely wasn't my thing. But sometimes you go along to try and make friends.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of competitive filmmaking.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, who can get the best lighting? Who can get the best? Who could just do the better job of making films and being the most effective and using the best techniques, and you know, who can make the best movie? I like the competitive nature of that because it will push you to make better, to do better with what you do. So if you know you're going up against somebody who has really, really good sound, maybe you don't have the best sound equipment to compete directly in terms of quality, but maybe you can be more creative than them in some way.
I think that creativity comes from the greatest set of boundaries. The more hardline your boundaries are, the more creative you'll be. And that's an excellent example of it. I like creative, I like competition in film to some degree. I don't look at it as competition, but I know I'm entering one. Mm-hmm. But I just try and do the best that I can do. I never look at another artist and say, I gotta beat them, or I want to be them, or I want to be better than them. I don't look at it that way. But I did one of those 48-hour challenges, and that was an interesting little thing. I know you've had a couple of run-ins with those kind of things.
Yeah, I've done a few of those. Yeah.
The format is okay. It feels a little bit like cutting your legs off. Like, all right, we're gonna run a marathon with our knees. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's wrong with taking a couple of weeks? Why is it gotta be 48 hours? You know,
right.
Like, are we putting out? What are we trying to do here? Like, because then it's like competition in your acting class. Like, all right, I'm gonna put out 3 to 5 minutes of a scene, like with the best lighting. I don't know. Like, it just I can see its purpose in training you to become a professional in the real world, because the days are difficult and you got to be creative and fast thinking and learn how to open yourself up to whatever comes up. But it doesn't produce. I don't see it producing a lot of quality.
No, I don't think it's meant to produce quality, and that was my issue with it. Was that it was not meant to prioritize quality. It's meant to prioritize the habit of getting things done, the habit of just making use of